Yeah, I know. Just off before one. Yeah.
That's what it's on.
Yeah. They also used to live in
Windows
Brown's,
down there in the field by them, and he said they were just waiting.
Brown's Construction across on the one side, they used to live in that pit.
Yeah, it's a couple of times.
Yeah,
Might be just like a weed pollution.
Well, they actually built,
That's my friend next door.
Be muskrat, I'm sure.
probably built head in the water.
Fire for long.
I think they're doing the deed right.
There's no trees.
Birches were burning.
After muskrat.
Coopers had a fire going.
I don't know, have you ever seen any otters yet?
I just got that day.
Well, I can't, all I see is the head, they go around.
I see the truck
I
parked
don't
there,
see
but
much
it's
of
not
it.
Yeah, I know.
Somebody said one there, he come up, you know.
John at Gladstone's there.
Okay, we're gonna call this meeting to order.
Same idea.
This is the December meeting of the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Finance for the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal. The date being Monday, December the 7th, the time being 6:30 p.m. And the next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Chair is looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
so
I have Councillor Hunter and seconded by Councillor Cameron. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, the agenda will be as it is. Next item on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Are there any disclosures here this evening? No disclosures. Moving then to item 4 on the agenda, which is business arising from the previous Committee of the Whole meeting. And those minutes were circulated with the package on Friday. Does anyone have anything to bring up from those minutes?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just have one question regarding this is on page 6, just after the first mover, Deputy Mayor Deschamps, seconded by myself, where the committee recommends to council that the structure of the CDC meeting. I'm just curious, when did we set a date as to when that's going into effect? Is it the new year or later?
Through
Sure.
the chair,
To the
the bylaw was passed at the November 23rd meeting, but the CDC committee does not meet again until February.
So
Okay,
it'll take effect in February then. Thank you so much. That's all.
Okay, and anything else coming up? Just one small correction in the minutes, if I could,
Yes.
please, on page 1 of 37. So there's the two disclosures that I made under item number 3. One was for 5A of the agenda, and the other one was for 6A, I think. My paper says B.
Through the chair, for item 3 on the minutes, it just itemizes them. So it does A, B, C.
Oh, I see, it doesn't show the,
It shows the title of the actual agenda item.
okay, not the number.
No, that's correct.
All right, so there are no other business arising from the minutes. I'm going to go directly then into item number 5 on the agenda. Item number 5 on the agenda is a delegation or a presentation concerning the Johnstown drainage plan. And I believe that the presenter is Kevin Hawley, is that correct?
That's correct.
From Greer Galloway Group.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so we had a paper copy of your presentation. Do you intend to make a PowerPoint presentation or?
Just the paper.
Okay, so you have 10-15 minutes, and if you'd like to take the podium and speak from the podium, your floor is yours.
Thank you for this opportunity. Everyone got a copy of the report beforehand, but this is a pretty high-level document. We were retained by the township to come up with some long-term planning for the town, for the hamlet of Johnstown. So the majority of our time was spent surveying the entire hamlet and figuring out drainage patterns within the hamlet itself. So within this document, you'll find in the appendix a complete topographical survey of the village. I believe it's in Appendix A. Based off of this, we completed a stormwater model of the site, and we checked the capacity of your existing culverts that go under the county road outletting to the St. Lawrence. We also looked at potential long-term solutions for a 5-year plan if you wanted to improve the drainage within the hamlet itself. One of those being underground stormwater system, which is more expensive, or an overland ditch system. To do this, we needed the survey data to make sure that you didn't install a stormwater pipe that wouldn't work at the top end, the north end of the village. So that's what this looked at originally at the start of the plan. It's still a high-level document. We've given you some cost estimates for either option. You can also do a combination of each option. It's more to give the Public Works a clear idea of what they can do and kind of let them come up with a plan, but we've given them some costing options. You originally did have a report done earlier. I think it was in 2001. It was highlighted that some of your ditches were filled in and there were some areas of concern brought up by its residents. We did speak to that report in ours, but this is more of a high level, okay, they've identified the problem. We went out to the site, we've surveyed the entire site and said, now, here's some solutions. This isn't a full design. You're still gonna need a design. You're still gonna need MOE approval. But at this point, it's back in the township has the data they need to make a proper decision if they wanna go open ditches within the village or if they wanna go storm sewer, depending on budget and probably some public information sessions with the community. So besides that, it looks like everything will work for either stormwater or overland drainage. It's just the appetite within the community if you want ditches within your hamlet or not. Everyone likes putting infrastructure underground. There are cost implications to this, long-term and short-term. One of them being right off the bat is you have to treat the water before it goes into St. Lawrence. So the first year would be installing environmental protections right along the river. They're called a storm scepter. That's one of the names. They're basically an oil grid separator as soon as you install underground systems. This also looked at what you have in place right now. Some of the infrastructure is fairly old. Some of it is built on top of each other, so this gives you a complete picture of all the culverts you have within the hamlet, the existing stormwater, which some of it's a little messy. It looks like there's no real long-term planning done with it, but now you have a clear indication what's in the ground. And then some possible solutions to the problem areas identified in the 2001 report. Did anyone read did everyone have a chance to read the document?
Yeah.
Any general basic questions? Some of the costing was based on, it's still high level, it's just based on the length of pipe, the placement of the granite on top, the asphalt on top, and then the structures themselves. You'll still need a design done by an engineering firm to finalize the pipe sizes and the location and the hydro poles, but this at least gives you some ideas of what the cost would be if you say wanted to get rid of all the ditches within the hamlet.
So I have a couple of questions because I read the report and
Yep.
and I'm quite worried about it. So very first thing, you're recommending here a series of open ditches, 3-1 slopes. 3-1, is that not rise over run?
That's correct. It's to increase
So
the
3 foot of
capacity.
rise for every
Yeah.
1 foot of run.
No, 3 foot over and 1 foot up.
So it's run over rise.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a little bit different than what I took it to be.
that's not a problem. It's to increase the capacity of the ditches. So if the problem going to be is you're going to get people running down your door saying they can't run lawnmowers on them after you've installed those.
No, that is the other problem here. I mean, I don't know what you think would happen to us as a council if we adopted that plan.
Agreed.
You
agreed.
wouldn't be here, by the way.
No, it's not my decision to make on that, and that's why we've given you the underground option also. But there's a cost implication to that, and it's not just the people within the hamlet, you've gotta look within the township. Do you want to long-term spend that money to put all the infrastructure underground? Or are you okay with living what you have now with some drainage issues?
But is there not a way of doing a combination of both?
There possibly is, yes. You
Because an awful lot of those folks have got, and I'm not saying that the underground structure that they've installed on their front lawns so that they can cut right to the street level.
Yep.
I'm not saying that underground structure is the best, but, you know, you make the sort of the sweeping statement in here that the culverts are all collapsed. Well, do you know that?
Yeah, we've actually, if you go on Appendix A, we've surveyed every single culvert in the community.
No, including the ones that are, no, I'm not talking about entrance culverts.
I'm talking about entrance culverts and underground systems that you have. They're all categorized now.
Okay, and where do I find that?
Yeah, it's in the appendix. There's a breakdown with actually storm pipe table in appendix A. Let me just double check. Appendix A, site drawings.
Is that, I got an alternative one and an alternative two. You're talking about an appendix A.
Yeah, keep going through your document, and there's a drawing that
27,
shows.
Pat, page
Yeah.
27.
Page 27.
So that shows everything existing within your hamlet. So every culvert that's there, just right there, right in front of you. So that drawing has every culvert within the hamlet, every invert, either side, which way it flows. So if you wanted to replace all those, they're
So
all.
how do I know which is a culvert here? How do I know what's an underground buried pipe?
So we would go to storm pipe table for the size. So the underground buried pipes would be mainly on the right side of that page, C2. And they have an identification number beside them. You'll see in brackets, like 233.
No, this is, you're telling me to look at this sheet,
Yeah.
which I can hardly see. But tell me how I would, I'm looking at Mary Street, for example. How would I know where the underground structure is and where the overground structure is?
So in the Mary Street, if you go down the intersection of Second, there's identification number. You can see a cross culvert identified as 158. And then you'd go to the adjacent table, and it says the size of that is a 5.5 millimeter, 12.4 meter length CSP, and it's laid at 0.3% fall.
Well,
So that's what's there now.
I'm no engineer, but what I'm trying to determine is how we as a council deal with this report. We cannot possibly accept it. We might receive it.
It's, again, a high-level planning document. You're gonna take this and you're gonna say, hey, there's no appetite for open water, open ditches in these segments of the hamlet whatsoever. But we can't afford to put stormwater everywhere. The township now has the data where they can look at it and say, okay, well, we wanna put just maybe the first section underground, alleviate some of the major problems, and come up with a 10, 15-year plan. It's not a design document. It's not saying this is gonna go to tender anytime soon. This is to break it up and come up for the next 5 to 10 years and say, we wanna break off chunks of this and complete this work.
So in your report, do you kind of point to us and say, here's priority 1 area, here's priority 2 area?
Yeah, if you look at, we break down capital costs, where's the cost analysis? Deficiencies noted in current Johnstown drainage system, it's on page 6.
Okay, so Mr. Bradley, help me out, where's page 6?
I messed my own up now with it.
It's in between 5 and 7.
Well, thank you very much. That's very helpful. That's very helpful.
So in that table, there's a table that starts, that's number 6, and it gives you 5,
Well, just a minute, I
priorities.
gotta find it.
Yeah.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, it's page 17 of 137.
That's, okay, now you're helping.
Starts at the bottom. Table 1, deficiencies noted in current drainage system.
Okay, so now, are you calling that sort of okay, up on the top it says problem areas, so is that a priority listing?
Yes.
Oh, it is, okay.
But not necessarily you're gonna be able to fix one without deciding what you're gonna do. Before you have to fix one, you have to decide what you're gonna do with the lower end first. You have to decide, you're gonna put it underground, you can do open ditches, because the news fixing one, if it has, the water has nowhere to go. So this document gives you the data you need to figure out, okay, what are we gonna do with one? We gotta fix one, but to fix one, I've gotta make an outlet for it. And to do that, you're gonna use the information that we've supplied the township staff, and they're gonna look at it and say, okay, well, we can either go underground up to one to give an outlet, or we can do open ditch. We've given them pricing and options for either. And then at that point, they're gonna have to sit down and decide, probably with some direction from council and the community, what they wanna do going forward. This document is not meant to any way, shape, or form say you absolutely have to put in open ditches or you absolutely have to put it underground. It's to give you the option of either and give you some pricing.
Okay, so this is, we should regard this report as sort of a broad, general, high-level survey. Engineering design still to be completed?
Correct. Yeah, and to give you prices of what the potential construction for each option would be. It's not a completed engineered design. That is not the intent of this document.
Okay. Okay.
There's no way you can take that drawing that you correctly looked at and you can send that out to tender for a contractor. It's nowhere near ready or shaped, but what it is a document to give the township some idea, okay, we wanna fix one, we can give the documents provided in this, the survey data that you guys own, decide, we wanna design an underground system for the first part to fix problem number one and give it to an engineering firm to now go ahead and do the design. And you have a somewhat cost estimate to do that work, and you're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna budget for this maybe in 3 or 4 years out, or maybe I'll put it aside for next year.
So I want the rest of the council the rest of the committee here to ask questions, but one sort of final question from me, and then I'll pick up at the end. Of the culverts that you looked at that were not, and I'm talking about now the ones that are under people's lawns.
Yeah.
Which they cut right to the edge of their properties. The worst maintenance of ditches is the township. We're the worst maintainer. We don't maintain ditches, plain and simple. And the people in Johnstown take a great deal of pride in their little hamlet.
Yep.
And they keep it manicured quite nicely. So where you found that the infrastructure under a lawn was not draining to its full capacity, can you tell whether it's a collapsed culvert or just filled? What I'm trying to get at, is there any possibility of rehabilitating the stuff that's under the ground, under the lawns?
You're talking about not an entrance culvert, but a culvert that might pass under private property in someone's lawn that's potentially being crushed.
Yeah, it replaces the ditch, in other words.
Oh, replaces it, so stormwater. Did we do a full so no, we did not do a full CTV scan of the pipes. We didn't send a camera through all of them. That would be another fee you could pay a technician to do, certainly. What we're saying is sometimes in circumstances, we found 2 pipes on top of each other, where the township has just installed one and said, this doesn't work, we're gonna install another one on top of each other. We found pipes that didn't really have an outlet. So saying they went somewhere, but the water didn't drain because it stopped 2 or 3 streets up from the lake, so you need to continue that on. I believe another part of your question is, can you fix the pipes without going into the ground and digging them up? Yes, you can. It's not necessarily cost effective. You can do what's called a relining. You're probably familiar with your sanitary works. You can do that. In this instance, it probably wouldn't be cost effective. It'd probably be more cost effective to dig them up and give the people nice sod back after you're done and get a contractor to do it properly. You're also, when you reline a culvert, you're decreasing the size of it, so you're decreasing the capacity of the amount of water that culvert can handle.
But if it's just filled with
Dirt or whatever, yeah.
it can be flushed, can it not?
It can be flushed and the township can do that themselves, but a lot of times these culverts might be rotten at the bottom or they might have a kink in them, and once they have a kink, they rust out pretty quick.
Okay, my apologies, it's up to the table now. Mr. Bradley?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, when I read this, first of all, I saw it as a feasibility study more than an actual action plan, even though it's called a drainage plan. But I have a couple of questions. One is, there are 2 outlets to the river.
That's correct.
And my concern would be that, and I know you've studied it, but they become choke points. There's a possibility they become choke points.
Yep.
And so, did you look at what would be required with respect to those outlets to the river to avoid having back up into the hamlet?
So that's why we did, I didn't print it out, but there's a whole section on technical printouts from a stormwater design.
Right.
And if I just have to find the exact spot in the report, but we talk about the 2 outlets and we talk about what capacity they're currently at. And they're not over capacity. They're designed properly. I think one's at,
Outlet 1 is 14%.
no, yeah, that's the technical data, but it should have been in the verbiage that it gives what the capacity that culvert can handle. Sorry, what page was that?
I don't know, I just
It's
remember, I read it,
137,
and that two's got 71%. Okay.
36 and 37 are 147.
So when you
yes, we
say
did.
it's a below capacity,
Yes,
the question really, when I read that was, well, what's the capacity and does the flow down from the north ever get close to that capacity?
so based
But you
on.
did a flow analysis.
Yes, we did, on the entire village. So based on, so what we do is we build a model of the village in software,
Right,
and then we run certain storms over it. And what we're saying is I like the
it's
fun.
2 to 100-year storm sort of thing.
It's not a 100-year storm, it's a 10, because you can't design to 100, it's just not feasible, economic to design.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
based on the MOE manual. I just have to find that, it's problems.
Well, I've got page 35 of 137, and there's 3 or 4 pages of it. Your pages aren't numbered, so.
No, we wrote it out simpler than the, it's in the written documentation. If you give me a second, I will.
So, but if I may, I believe it's page 16 and 17.
In any case, if those,
So they have
you're satisfied that
Yes.
your firm is satisfied that they're not going to be a choke point.
They are not a choke point, and they will not be, they're well under design. I would install new pipes at those
Yeah.
design.
Yeah. Now, the second question is, if you have ditches, open ditches, and through driveway culverts, et cetera, down to the river, and if you bury it, that's one thing, okay, well, case one. Case two is if you bury the system with drainage, whatever kind of piping and manholes, et cetera, why are you treating that when you're not treating the open ditch?
MOE policy.
Can
Based on-
you
Sure.
Can
So
you give a
we
rationale?
Yeah,
for
to give
that?
a high level is they consider the grass in the ditch filter. So they like the grass, so that's why they love, the big thing is new enhanced stormwater ponds with cattails and stuff. It acts as a filter. The grass acts as a filter before it hits the river. If you pipe it underground, it's doing two things. It's not allowing that sediment to get trapped in the grass, and you're channeling it directly to the river, so they're asking for that to be separated.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, it's a really expensive item, and there's no way around it anymore. You need MOE approval before you put in new storm pipes connected by manholes in the ground, not entrance culverts. Just a new underground stormwater system, you need MOE approval, and they mandate that you have to treat the water before it goes into the river.
okay, the last one, and then I'll turn it over to my colleagues, is the 3-1 proposal. Like, I don't have a real problem with the depth of those ditches at that level. I had a property previously, which had a ditch which crossed Highway 2, came across and down my entire property over about 300 feet. And it wasn't an engineered ditch, it was a ditch that was put in by whoever had the property. And it was an SOB to maintain. Cutting weeds, cutting grass and so on. You couldn't get a machine in more than
Yeah.
maybe an 8 or 10 inches. And then the rest of it, I had to climb down in it and do it with whippers and stuff like that. And it became, eventually you get to the point you don't do it, so it becomes an eyesore. And so we have that issue, plus the fact that the people in the hamlet won't be able to maintain their properties the way they are today.
And just to step back, the 3-1, it doesn't give a necessary depth, that's just the side slopes. It could be just a 3-1 ditch that's only this deep.
Yeah,
It may be this shallow, you still have to do design on it, it may be 3 feet deep. But yes, sometimes we have had quite a resistance from that side slope. I think to run a lawnmower, you need a 6-to-1 or even more.
yeah.
But I have to give you guys multiple options because to put everything underground is quite a bit of cost difference.
Very expensive.
So it is, I know it's people's front lawns, but it is still township property they're maintaining. That's another thing we sometimes run into homeowners is, yes, they do maintain it, but it is still township property that they're cutting.
There's a lot of pooling that goes on in,
Yeah.
in the hamlet as well.
And I did find out, I did finally found the page, the Mary Street, main under culvert is only running at 14% of its capacity. The Sophia Street, 71. I designed my pipes up to 80. You're fine.
So, quick question, I'm sorry, I have to let the others go and then I'll come back.
No, I came down here, this is worthwhile for me, this is why I came down to answer questions like this.
Well, the requirement for the grit separator, if we're using an underground system, and I mean, I don't think we have budget or appetite for a full underground system. But what I'm trying to find is a way where we can devise a system which takes advantage of the fact that, I mean, that, first of all, that folks take a great deal of pride in their property and keeping their grass cut right to the
Yeah.
edge of the property. And so, if I've got a street, let's say Mary Street, and it's running down, what percentage of the length has to be open ditch so that I get the grass drainage, and I don't fall under the MOE requirement for a grit separator? Can I get away with 50%?
So this is a question I get actually quite a bit, and it's a very common one. As soon as, and it depends on the MOE reviewer, but basically as soon as you attach two manholes together, that is considered a pipe system and you need treatment.
As soon as you attach two pipe
Structures, two catch basins,
together,
that's considered a stormwater system and you need treatment.
no matter how far up the hill they may be?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So you
And-
gotta avoid that at all costs.
Well, the other thing is this treatment system, if you put one in, you might wanna pay a little bit extra and put a bigger one in, then in future, let's say 5-10 years down the road, or maybe longer, you've already got the system big enough to handle if you wanna, let's say, increase that underground system. You wanna come back and rip out what you just put in, cause it's not big enough to do what you wanna do in future.
But Johnstown's kind of mature, there isn't very much, like it can't be expanded much farther north, because once you get to a certain point, everything drains to the back.
Yeah, I know, we found that in the documentation, but, I mean, your housing market's down here, look at Kempville. How much has it expanded? How much is that infilled? You could infill and go to the back, or you could get people that, at the top end, that say, hey, why do I have to mow my lawn with a ditch? I want you to fill it in like my neighbor down the road's got.
Yeah, I know,
That's gonna be your major issue. If you do half of it, you're going to get people running down your door saying, why didn't you do all of it?
I'll be the first one probably.
Yeah, so that's why we're suggesting, like, if you do the underground, do the up, yes, it's more money up front. Put the larger treatment system in, and that gives you the opportunity to put more in down the road if you want to.
Okay, other questions here, come on.
I just had a suggestion, Mr. Mayor. Those maps on C, what you call C1-00.
Yep.
You were talking about it showed where the, various information.
Yep.
My eyes aren't that good, and I'm sure that the rest of them are probably having trouble with it too, but a nice blow-up of that would be great.
We can supply you with whatever you like. The township owns this mapping. It's my apologies for not bringing a larger, print off on Bristol board. But you guys own all the documents. We can plot you off as large as you want, as many copies. It's township property now. You own the document.
Great on my iPad.
Yeah, well, you guys own the data.
We did get some larger drawings.
Oh, I could have printed you off
Any size.
any size.
Bed sheet.
And we can supply the two, but it's with your Public Works managers now. They own the documentation. They can print it off. They can give it to someone else. If you decide you want to get someone else to design, you have the data you can give to anyone. So it's not lost. It's not going anywhere. And definitely we can get you larger printouts if you like.
Other questions here, Councillor Dilba?
Yes, I've got a couple. First of all, how come we just stopped at 4th Street and we're only doing outlet 1 and 2 and you're not looking at outlet 3? Like north of 4th Street, we still have problems.
Yeah, that was the
5th Street.
That was the direction we were giving in our
Oh, okay.
in our engineering document when we signed the thing, that we were given a block area, and that was what we.
Because we still have problems there.
I'm your drainage superintendent, we got there's lots of drainage issues throughout the township, but that was our engineered designed area.
So that's why outlet three's not, we're not really looking
Yeah,
at outlet
that's
three then,
correct.
is that right?
Yeah.
'Cause everything north goes into outlet three.
That's the creek to the north, you would almost need to get a municipal drain to really get that to work, would probably be my suggestion, which leads into a whole bunch of other stuff. But the township would wanna control that if you did that.
Okay, no, I just.
No, that's a great question, and it's maybe something
We
you
do
need.
have problems there.
Oh, yes,
Others, Councillor Hunter wanted in?
I noticed in your recommendation, you're going to the 3-1 ditches, and we have a lot of 4-1 ditches out there now. You say you're increasing your capacity.
Yep.
Why does a 3-1 ditch increase the capacity that much more than a 4-1 ditch? Slower flow maybe in a 4-1 ditch, but
you're widening your bottom. You're going from something like this, so 4-1 ice, and you're widening the bottom on your ditches. It's
you
making,
don't have to, you can widen
and we would give,
it out to 4-1, you can still have a 1 foot bottom and go to a wider 4-1.
we
Wide
generally,
slope.
when we give a cross section, we say the bottom ditch should be half a meter.
Yeah.
And then we set the bottom, and then the side slopes are set based on the elevation. So you give a little bit steeper of a slope, it allows us more flow, because it's a little bit wider in the first couple of inches. Because really, your water in your ditch, for most storms, doesn't get that high, because it doesn't get much more than a foot.
On Mary Street, when you come down, the ditches are fairly deep there because the road in, you go over to Sophia Street, and the road's a lot higher than the lawn there. The ditch is deep on this side, but
Yeah,
it's really using the lawn as a run, so how would you engineer that?
So
An open ditch that you
again-
wouldn't be digging down
yeah.
2 feet in the lawn because you're already on a slope.
Again, for the individual sections, you need to take it to an engineering company and get engineer drawings done and figure out what the actual elevations for each side. Again, and then also for if you did, stormwater, if you really wanted to make the village, even more presentable, you could put curb in.
What?
Curb.
Oh, yes, right,
Convert it to the
So,
upper-
again, it comes down to, this gives you the document you can use to go ahead and do that, but that becomes down to a budgeting issue, what the appetite is to spend on the village at that point.
Also, there in your report there on exit 1 and exit 2,
Yep.
there, the number 2 you said wasn't really up for long-range capacity, there, that it really should be larger.
It's 71%, it's still okay. Let me pull it up. Sorry, back and forth. Secondary there, should any additional development be proposed for the catchment area? So if you plan a subdivision for that catchment area, let's say another cul-de-sac going in there, then yeah, that would be concerning. In its current state, it's fine.
But it is at the farthest east side of Johnstown, where if there is any expansion, that would be where it'd have to take
And s-
place. You know,
and something like that-
Places there's still vacant land in behind it could be.
And something like that, you could go to your planning department and say, highlight that and say, hey, the planner needs to do a stormwater check to make sure that our pipe capacity can handle this new development based on the size. 71% still gives you quite a bit. We always just put that kicker in there, like it's, for that section. If there was a very large development, yes, you should look at it, maybe you should give that to the developer and make them produce a stormwater report for you.
Mary Street one that was just completed, it's sufficient for complete long range
Yeah, yeah.
on it.
I believe you did some erosion control measures too, where it goes out there right by the house.
Yeah.
It looks good.
But my concern was that, as you stated, the cost of it. To look at the study, the only real thing the township has to look at it is probably the underground culverts in the deepest ditches. There is some there that aren't that awful deep at the upper end, but then there's others that
Again, yes.
you'd have to pretty well start at number 2 and work your way back. You couldn't go up and fix a
And again, with
ditch
this,
up at Second Street and,
again, that's what this document helps you with. You have now all the elevations and inverts, and you know what the fall is from each section and how you can break that up.
So does the design, the engineering, the detailed engineering design from this point now becomes a desktop exercise based on this rather than a field exercise?
Yeah, the field work has been mainly done. You've got
Field
your,
work is done.
you've got your topographical survey. You know what's in the field. You know where all the elevation is. You know where all the water's going.
Yeah.
So you take this and you give that information that we're gonna give the township, and you give that to an engineering firm, and they would go from there and design. And at that point, you would need to give them direction, above ground, underground. How would you like it to look?
Okay, but is it reasonable assignment to say to an engineer, we want to take maximum advantage of the fact that many folks have already brought their lawns up to the side of the road, and we want to either, I don't know whether we would be able to replace their underground culvert or their underground drainage system that they put in, or flush it, or repair it, but would it be a reasonable exercise to say we want to take advantage of that? As much of it as possible.
So private.
I'm just worried about the reaction
Yeah.
from the homeowners.
So private, you're talking about a private pipe that's been installed tied into the storm system? Or a private pipe that someone's installed on the property to outlet it at?
Well, they've just closed in their ditch. They put a pipe in the bottom of their ditch and built the lawn over the top of it.
Yeah, that's where some of your issues are running into, because a lot of these pipes weren't properly sized, or they just filled in the ditch. And it may have helped them out, but it's hurting people down and upstream from them.
Yeah. I understand.
So no, I would not recommend just flushing it. I mean, at some point, it's township property and the township needs to own this long-term. You need to fix it and put something in properly. Who knows what people have used? I've seen pipes connected all different ways when people do their own kind of work. You don't allow people to pave the road in front of their house because they want to.
Well, then, yes, we do. We
allow
allow them to pay their driveway right up to the.
But not the road. The
The
storm's not the road. The storm system is part of the fundamental part of the road. That's where all your degradation of road comes from. You gotta get the water away from the road.
The problem is though, that what has happened over the period of time is that in the absence of municipal maintenance, the maintenance has been taken over by the property owner.
So maybe in the long term, you need to take that back, but I would not recommend allowing people to, a private citizen to operate the town's stormwater drainage system. I don't think that's a good idea.
that's really the problem we've got into over the years of growing the township. A lot of those underground culverts that are buried there were culverts that the township took out someplace and.
Yeah, I understand that.
Oh, can we have those culverts put in, you
Yeah.
know, fill in their yard, and, oh, yeah, come down and get them when they put them in.
I completely
Well,
understand
They
what
were
you're
old culverts when they're taken out, so.
I completely understand what you're saying, it just leads into a lot of long-term problems. Let's say that their private culvert fails, in the township, who's gonna pay to replace it?
And yet in Morrisburg, the homeowner can apply to the municipality to fill in his ditch at his own expense, put the culvert. And the township provides the service whereby they go to the property, they examine what is being proposed, and they approve it, and give him a permit. He fills in his ditch at his own expense, and now he cuts to the roadside.
Is that within the town of Morrisburg, or is that within the
Well, it's
rural
called South
limits?
Dundas. Called
Is
South
that,
Dundas.
what, they still allow that in the urban section though, or just the
Yes,
rural?
yes, right in the village.
I would not recommend that, you're gonna have people with pipes this far apart of the property line not touching, and you're gonna, as a council, you could direct whichever way you want, you could go that route. I would not recommend it, but it is within your power to do an entrance bylaw, and allow people to, I assume, do that, if Morrisburg is doing that. I would not recommend it.
Okay. Counselor Cameron.
Yes, I didn't see it, it could be in there, but did you do, excuse me, did you do any studies on the number of sump pump outlets?
No.
There? No, okay.
That's another dangerous one, because,
Yeah.
So where you've allowed, you're not supposed to technically allow them to connect to your municipal network, but we always say if knock on the homeowner's door, the contractor, when we do the engineering design and we actually work with the contractor, we tell them to go knock on every door, give letters, and allow the homeowners the opportunity to reconnect, especially in lower lying communities. But technically, I mean, if you were in the city of Ottawa, a large municipality is definitely not legal to do that anymore. But I would recommend in a small community like this, allowing people to do that. The risk is if you miss one and you crush it or something, so we didn't even put them on the drawing, so there's too much liability from our side. Say the contractor misses it and they crush one and then someone's basement floods. We're liable, the township's liable because it's missed in the drawings. We do more of a common courtesy where we give letters and say, hey, if you've got a sub pump, you've got to let us know, it may be disconnected, and then we go around and reconnect them anyway. But it's a liability in the township's part because you're allowing them to connect to your system. Let's say the township culvert gets clogged and it backs up their sub pump. I mean, you guys could be liable for that.
Yeah, as I know there are several.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions here? Okay, one final thing. As you were doing this, did you have any communication at all with residents along in the area?
There was some miscommunication on our part, and I will take full responsibility that we did not communicate well enough with the community. The township staff informed us there were some people that needed more notice that we were that we were doing the survey, and we tried to rectify that after. But during the survey, no, that was a fault on our part as a company, not giving enough notification for the public.
Okay, well, what the intent of my question was to try to determine whether or not there was a buildup of expectations that this was gonna happen tomorrow.
No, no, most residents were very cooperative. They pointed us to a lot of pipes that we wouldn't have found. They provided a lot of historical context that we would have not known. We wouldn't have found that double buried pipe. They pointed us to a lot of places where there was maybe a mutual agreement drain where it doesn't go down the road ditch, it goes between someone's property. We did not reiterate this is going to be done anytime soon. The public was very helpful during our survey.
Did they point out areas of prime concern?
Oh, everyone's driveway was a prime concern.
Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, I'll thank you for coming and into the lion's den.
No, it is for all pointed questions, and that's why I'm here. They were all questions that maybe some miscommunication on our part about the capacity, some concerns about the cost of open ditches. I'm not telling you have to do open ditches. Those are very good questions that you guys need to answer to make informed decisions going forward. These are all excellent questions that should be asked.
Well, okay, I'll thank you very much then for your presentation, and it is for us a major problem to try to determine what the path forward will be, knowing that first of all, the people in that little hamlet take an awful lot of pride, and to see their lawns dug up with 4-to-1 slopes from one end of the street to the next, I think is almost a non-starter for us, but I don't know how to find the balance.
Yeah, and I don't have that local knowledge about what the appetite within a community is or with the township. It may be something where you start at one end, putting stuff underground and say, hey, we know we have a problem here, but we have to fix something at the lower end here first. It's gonna take us, a couple of years to get up to your problem, but we're laying the groundwork at the bottom first, and maybe you put it all underground. But that's a decision as a council and as a township you're gonna have to make in your long-term planning. And this is more of a guide to say, okay, if you wanna do that, here's what the cost is, potential costs to take that underground up there are. Maybe also you can apply for some grants. It's another opportunity to get some engineering design done beforehand, have these plans done on your desk and applying for grants. We've seen other villages do that and be successful. The town of Smith Falls is very successful, upgrading their stormwater system. Smaller hamlets like South Frontenac generally does fairly well. You've been fairly well. You got the wastewater treatment center protected by a berm with a grant that covered most of the costs. That might be an option also.
Okay. Now, one final question. I did read it.
Yeah.
But my memory's not that good. But did you give us the price of the MTO MOE required separators?
I estimate 95 grand each.
How much?
95.
95.
Grand each.
$8,000 each. Okay.
We need two?
You need two, one for each outlet. You can't connect them. I looked at that also. But maybe you wanna do Mary Street first and then leave Sophia for a couple of years. Maybe you wanna do both storm scepters, or both oil grid separators first. It's just, if you wanna do any work up from that, you need those in place first.
You need a $250,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hawley, for coming and speaking to your report and answering the questions.
I'll bring bigger blow-ups next time.
Well, the staff did provide some of the drawings with larger size, so we do have them. But you gotta remember, our eyes are getting bad.
Not a problem.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, folks, so I'm moving on to item number 6 on the agenda. And item number 6 on the agenda gets me to a discussion of the 2021 draft capital budget. And just bear with me for a minute while I find that myself. And so here we are. And just before we start this discussion, I'm just gonna ask the treasurer if she would just remind us of what is the threshold for capital. I can't remember whether it's 5 or 10.
5,000 is our capital threshold.
5,000?
Yeah.
Okay, so 5,000 is the threshold for capital. All right, so we have, it looks to me like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reports here. A draft capital funding analysis report, a 21-23 draft capital for consideration, 21-24 proposed roads resurfacing program, 21 draft capital summary, and 2021 draft reserve and reserve fund report. So I'm on page 46 of 137. And on that page, the chart below provides a comparison between the 2021 draft capital budget and the 2020 approved capital budget. And you can see that in 2021, the staff is recommending capital budgets totaling 1.8 million compared to 1.7 this year. And we can follow that all the way through, and you'll see that the amount required for taxation support, after all grants have been taken into account, in 2020 we needed 978 from the current year taxation, and in 2021 the proposal is for 950 from the current year 2021 levy. Now, any comments this far? Okay, we'll go on to the next page then. And on the next page, which is page 47, we have a funding analysis. Now, these are the projects, the draft projects. So the first project is a retrofit of town hall entrances at 60,000, proposed to be funded by government grants. And as you read the text, the concept is if the government grant isn't successful, this would not happen. Is that correct? And so the second item there is media system and flooring at 15,000. Now, when I looked at the text on page 48, I don't see the breakdown of the two things. Do we have a breakdown between those two projects?
Through the chair, yes, it would be 5,000 for the media system replacement and 10,000 for the flooring.
10,000 for the flooring. So So then the question would become, well, why wouldn't the 5,000 be a maintenance item? I mean, all it has to do is be 4,098, and it becomes a maintenance item.
Through the chair, all it needs to be is $5,005, and it's a capital item.
Well,
It's right in there. Could it be shifted to operations? It very well may be able
well, that's 5,000 less. Okay, so then I'm going down to fire department capital, and there is a chart here on page 49 of 137, and you see that in 2021 and 2022, now they're asking for transfers to reserves in both of those years for specific purposes. Fire station and replacement of a tanker. And you can see that in 2023, they're proposing to buy both of those. The station 2 would go, the fire station 2 would go to a detailed design, permits, construction documents, and construction administration services for a potential build in 2024, but you're looking at $3.5 million there. And then also in 2023, a replacement of a pumper tanker 7 of about 400,000. Now, has the staff given any thought to what they would be asking us to transfer to reserves in 2021 and 2022 on those two items? Is there going to be a recommendation coming forward on that?
So, Mr. Chair, do you want to speak to that, Melanie?
There will be, it will be part of the operational budget at this point. What the intent of this particular draft report for capital was to give committee a sense of where we are with capital, not transfers to or from reserves other than from that we're, for
Okay, so
funding
just a
specific.
look ahead, in other words.
Yeah, we're just trying to signal that there is that ask, but we haven't really solidified that until we come back to council in January.
Okay, fair enough. So going back then to page 47, the next item down is stormwater management. And we've got Spencerville drainage in there for 30,000, and I believe from our last discussion, that was a question of engineering. And Connell Road storm pipe lining, 45,000, I can't remember that one. And then we've got Johnstown drainage in at 75, so, were you gonna speak to that one then, Melanie?
Actually, I'd rather refer that specifically to Public Works.
Okay, Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Chair, so the Ventnor Connell Road storm pipelining is basically relining a pipe that runs right close to a house on the corner and cuts underneath the road. So rather than digging the road up, and with concern for the residential property there, there's presently negotiations going on with the property owner to get an easement through there that they seem quite receptive to. So that's what that was.
Okay, now there's no textual with that, right? There's not a backup to that?
Capital for consideration sheet, there is,
Then, was that the one called
Storm
Ventnor Road
management.
Bridge?
no,
No.
stormwater management, there should be another one right after that.
Page 52, 137, the first item, the Connell storm pipe lining.
Well, that's it there.
Yeah, sorry, that's what
That's where the 45, okay, and then the other thing that you have is Johnstown drainage.
That
Where
was-
is it?
Mr. Chair, that was basically what Kevin Hawley was talking about with getting the professional plan built up and kick off anything that comes out of that, basically.
Now, the 75, what's the purpose there?
That would just be to get that plan drawn up from the engineering group, so to contract an engineer to finish that final plan, go through Mr. Hawley's work there and come up with a plan out like 10 years to finish the project.
So my question is this, the terms of the Greer Galloway engagement are complete, right?
Correct.
Okay, so then, Are they prepared to go to the next phase, which would be the design phase?
They would, I would think, if that's something you council would be interested in them continuing.
But it's not the very first step that has to happen. The council makes the decision whether they want to take this system underground or go to open ditches. Is that not the first decision?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
And I pushed him really hard on a combination of underground and overground. He didn't seem to be receptive to that. Whether or not he can be
He said he could do
Through-
both.
through-
enticed or not is another issue.
Through the chair, he just utilized the open ditch versus full system. I don't think that he was opposed to any type of combination. It's just, you can.
Well, except that what he said was, he wouldn't recommend property owners, taking over our stormwater system.
Because we own it.
So, well,
Yeah, because we own it.
So
I understand.
the other thing he mentioned, if I can interrupt, is that if you did that, because Mr. Mayor asked that question, and when he answered it, he referenced the fact, he didn't reference it as a technical issue, he referenced it mainly as a public relations issue, in the sense that you bury some section, and the open section you don't, and you got those homeowners pounding on the door here saying, how come you didn't put mine under? So I think that's the issue that he raised. Whether we would accept that or not is an open question.
So, here's the position that the chair is in right now. We're looking at the draft capital for 2021, and I've got an issue on my plate, which is a $75,000 issue that pertains to Johnstown drainage. And I know that cannot proceed until the staff has a firm sense of where council wants to go, not theoretically, conceptually, with drainage in Johnstown. And so I'm prepared to let the $75,000 issue go ahead, but I think before the expenditure occurs, we have to come to a firm sense of how we want to instruct the engineering to proceed. That has to be a political decision, there's no question in my mind about that.
Well, Mr. Mayor, that's gonna put 75 grand into the capital budget that depending on that decision, may sort of not be there at some point.
Yep.
So, in an effort to maybe proceed to sort of wrap up the capital portion, could we not set aside the 75,000 sort of as a like-to-do thing and then complete the balance of the capital budget, which we feel is absolutely essential? And then that gives us an idea of, okay, what else can we toss in here that might, be,
Okay, so let it go ahead with a marker on it.
yeah,
All right.
something identified.
Is everybody comfortable with that, knowing what we have to deal with? I need to see a nodding of heads here.
Yeah, I would go, yeah.
All right, so it's, that 75 has a marker on it. All right, now I'm at waste disposal site, finalize the design and the site work. Now, I'm not sure where that's coming from, because I don't think they're getting any pressure to do that.
So through the chair, earlier in 2020, Councilor Hunter raised the question with respect to the transfer station after the incident that occurred at the transfer site about moving it to one of the locations that was selected about 5-6 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Which is sort of across the road from the site. So it's just a 2 to 3 year plan about moving that transfer site over to a more permanent location and more open concept for separation. So it's just bringing forward, it was mentioned about an item for 2021 budget, and that's why it's included.
So over to you, Counselor, do you still think that that's a
I
priority?
think it's absolutely necessary, because the way the Environment Act is going, we gotta show that we're cleaning up our act, because they're not gonna keep passing that site the way it sits there now. We've already had one fire, we're lucky, because we could have got major fines out of that, so. We've got tires started right beside brush and garbage being dumped in containers 30 feet away from it. I'm surprised they've let us go as long as they have with it, so.
Okay, so this is just initial design, 50,000? Is that, do we have a firm handle on that 50,000 for design, initial design? Where did the number come from? I understand now where the item came from. Where did the number come from?
Chair, I'm not sure. Did you want to speak to that, Gord?
My understanding is that originally, back when the site first was proposed, the total cost was $200,000 estimate to have the site, the transfer site installed. So the $50,000 from the start would be basically work we could undertake to prepare to have the site moved in, clearing some brush and woods and so forth. Right now, our consultant for the dump at J2PG is looking into any conditions we might have with the Ministry of Environment, or any problems with the ECA, or we need a new ECA and that type of thing. So the $50,000 is basically getting the site prepared so that we can move on with the rest, the balance of the cost.
Now, hang on, is it site preparation or is it design? Difference. I would hardly think that we would start site preparation without a design.
So it would be finalizing the design, which was the preliminary design was done back 5 or 6 years ago, and then seeing how far we can get on site prep.
Okay, so everybody understands the concept here?
Yeah, we already had the design done once. So we
Well, I
already
don't think
know.
it's been finalized though.
Well, it's pretty well, we had the drawings of it, how it was going to be done. so.
The preliminary design was there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking for a nodding of heads that one stays in. All right, now I'm down to recreation capital. I have Cardinal Pool filtration system of 73,500, 30,000 of which is transferring from the reserve, and then 43,000 of which is going to be coming from current year taxation.
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Yes, on the Cardinal Pool filtration system, because the pool was shut down this summer, has that caused any adverse condition to the filtration system? Where I'm going with this is there any way we can use some of the COVID startup money to filter to come into that number?
Through the chair, I do not believe that that would be applicable, but.
They probably wouldn't be applicable.
Sorry, I missed that.
Said I don't believe that would be applicable.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would
okay.
agree. I don't think it's an applicable cost that we could rationalize.
Yeah, but if there was some, we'll say, disturbance done to it or damage done to it because we had to shut it down, would that not be an argumentative point?
We never started it up.
So through
So we didn't shut it down.
Through the chair, yeah, filtration system did not get started up in 2020. The
Correct.
decision was not made.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because it wasn't started up, has there been some deterioration done or any other damage done to, I don't know what other word to use, damage done to that filtration system because it wasn't working?
And I guess the simple answer would be no. There has-
But we're not sure, I guess.
Through the chair, this project was on our docket last year. I think it would be a
understand.
hard press to say, just because we didn't do it last year and because of COVID, it needs to be supported by COVID. That would be a really hard sell, I think.
So, and I'll accept that.
If it wasn't ever on our docket before, I would say then maybe, yes, we've had damage as a result of not opening, but because we had already signaled last year that it was, to be replaced, that and we had set the 30,000 away last year to replace.
Okay, so
This
why,
year.
so if it was on our docket to be done last year as a capital item,
Yeah,
the price didn't change between last year and this year. Why is there only 30,000?
that's what we put away last year, was 30,000.
That was the direction of council to put 30,000 away.
And not do it?
Yes,
Correct.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yes, put 30,000 away in
Okay,
2020.
so no, it wasn't actually approved to be done last year.
No.
It was just, we'll put 30,000 aside and
Correct,
do it this year.
to do it in
Okay,
2021.
okay,
yes.
okay.
Yes.
All right, so that's on. Do I get a nodding of heads with that
I
one?
have a question, Mr. Mayor. What's the criteria to suggest we need to replace it? Just that it's 20 years old or something? Or, like, is it age or what? Is it failing? Is it?
It has been failing, but I'm sure that Mr. Spencer will gladly answer that.
To Mr. Bradley. So the system that is currently in the Cardinal Arena is upwards of 32 years of age. We replaced the one in Johnstown 3 years ago, and it's the identical system. And when we took that apart, it was probably had about a year and a half left before it would have failed. And it's the identical system. We've had the system inspected again just 2 months ago when we got updating pricing. And again, it's flipped the switch, and you may get the year out of it, you may not get the year out of it. So, the newer system that is coming in is a lot smaller but more efficient. I'm not sure if you've ever been in the facility where the filter is, but the filter would fit in probably the kitchen in there. It's a fairly large system that has to actually be cut and welded apart to take out. The new system going in is basically goes through a doorway. Where that one that's there now, they built the building around it. They put the filter system in, then they built the room around it.
Well, thank you.
Okay, we getting a nodding of heads on that one? All right, now we're at Spencerville Arena dehumidifier, 46,000. And if I recall correctly, there's a briefing note with that one, and that's on page 54 of 137. It indicates here on page 54, it will be a two-step process, replacing one of the dehumidifiers in 2021 and replacing the second dehumidifier in 2022 at a cost of $46,000 each. So everybody's seen that. Discussion of any?
What's the criteria?
Yeah, I have one on that too.
Okay,
Like-
so
Like
what-
the filter.
Okay, sorry, go ahead, then you're first.
Why are we changing both of them? Are they ready to go too, or everything seems to be working?
Through the chair to Councilor Dillenbach, currently right now, we only have one operating
Yeah.
at the arena. The other one is down, and it's a substantial cost to repair it. Both units are upwards of 20 years of age. The one is 23, the other one is just a little over 20. The one was a second-hand one that we had purchased. So the idea is to replace the one that is currently not running now. And if we're able to get another year or 2 years out of the other one, then we will wait. But if not, then we would have to purchase the second one next year.
Go ahead.
Do we need two going at the same time, Mike, or no? One is a backup? Is that what you're saying?
We, through the chair to Councilor Dillenbach, we definitely need two at startup and
Right.
on mild days.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, we need it.
Thank you.
Right, so I need a nodding of heads here.
Yeah.
Okay, and now I'm at the last one, which is under recreation capital, Zamboni for the ingredient center at 95,000. And again, there's a, on page 54 of 137, there's a list there for 2021. The whole three items are there. The Zamboni comes in at 95,000. Any discussion here?
How old is this one?
Through the chair, how old is this one?
Uh,
The existing?
The existing, The one at the Ingredient Center is 21 years of age, and it was purchased, it wasn't new when the township purchased it. It was a used one that the Cardinal Community Center Board purchased prior to the township taking over the operations of the arena.
That was the Olympia.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's, okay.
Yeah.
So was it, I didn't know that it was a used one when they purchased it.
Yeah, it was
No,
not.
no, when the township, the community center board purchased it brand new. It was a brand new machine when the community center board purchased it.
Okay, I was under the understanding that it was a used one at the time,
No,
Counselor.
no, sir,
Okay.
brand new.
I don't have the documentation on it, so.
$90-some thousand.
Back then?
Yep, back then.
Well, then that was after 2006, because I remember I came on council in 2006.
It was around
And-
2006, around there, yes.
Well, it was shortly after I came on council, so I'm gonna say 2007, 2008. And my memory was that they purchased it, I remember it was the community center board
Yeah.
that purchased it.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
it
my
was,
understanding was that it was brand new when it was
It was.
purchased,
It was.
which would make it at the most 14 years, 15 years old.
The documentation that I don't have as when it was purchased, whether or not, I was told that it was by the former community center board, that it was a used machine when it was
But is
purchased.
there no documentation on the piece of equipment itself?
I'll have to look.
I mean,
don't
is there
have
not a
that
file
information.
on that piece of equipment?
I don't have that information in front of me.
That may have gone with the community center board, Mr. Mayor, those records. But I know we purchased it brand new.
Is it giving trouble?
Through the chair, yes, we've had issues over the last couple of years with it.
Maintenance issue?
Yes.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Through the chair to Mr. Spencer. So, Mike, we're, there's the Zamboni for the Ingredient Center this year and then one again for Spencerville next year. I know Prescott's been instrumental with helping us out with a few breakdowns and using their Zamboni. Theirs has been out of commission for 2 years, 3 years now.
3 years.
Even if they got funding this year, they're, another 3 or 4 years from a rink build. They're gonna have a machine that's gonna sit for 7 years. Inquiries with them as to whether they would consider selling. It seems like a win-win, like they get rid of something, we get something.
Through the chair to the deputy mayor, we've had numerous conversations with the town of Prescott about the option of purchasing it, and we've been told no, that they have no interest in selling it.
Have we,
They may never have an arena.
Go ahead.
through the chair again, Mike, have we, I know we've had a conversation with,
Yes.
like you or somebody has with them. Have we put it like in a formal letter, like where they have to respond formally to it, or is it just a,
Maybe
You know,
I'll
a phone
have
call.
our CAO answer that.
Certainly, yeah, through the chair, I certainly have not made a formal letter offer at this stage, but if that's something that council would like, we can certainly prepare and send a formal letter.
I have,
Well, I just remind the committee that our letter of July the 27th, which was directed to both Prescott Mayor and Council and Augusta Mayor and Council regarding our operating costs, our arena operating costs for 2019, that letter still has not been answered, to my knowledge. So, that's just another aspect of the same thing. Go ahead.
just one to further the point a little bit about that, that ongoing conversation about building their arena and discussions back and forth about funding ours. If it's the will of the council, I'm not sure that it is that they'd wanna buy the Prescott machine, but it seems to me to make, if not financial sense, political sense, that we at least have a no from them. That, we offered, you didn't want it to sell it to us, and, we thought it was a great idea, or at least a good idea, and you said no.
Okay, so how do you want to do that? CAO to CAO?
First question I have.
I'm not sure.
How old is this machine?
Yeah, I mean,
What
are
are
we
we
buying?
buying? We don't wanna buy a machine that's 7 or 8 years old, we just buy a new one and be done with it.
Through the,
Well, we don't wanna buy
Okay,
someone
well,
else's problem.
let's get Councillor Hunter's question answered here first.
through the chair to Councilor Hunter, theirs was purchased brand new in 2015. They ran for 1 season and then it sat for 3 seasons now.
So, okay, so going back to the deputy mayor's issue, which I think is a good issue, let's get a record here. Is it the will of the committee that we have this, that we do this on a CAO to CAO basis, firm offer to purchase, CAO to CAO, and, 30-day reply? Because we're already building budget, and if we have to build a new one into our budget, we will. We need their answer within 30 days. Do I have a nodding of heads that that letter be sent?
The question is, how much are we offering?
Well, I think we should be able to leave that to the CAO and the staff to put an offer together, a reasonable offer together. I don't think we need to get involved with that. And, but I think we should all get copied on the letter that goes out. And I think, Mr. CAO, you should have a firm number in there. And you should probably indicate that, that you're willing to discuss the price, but this is the price that you're offering. And obviously, for a brand new machine that's only worked 1 year, but has sat idle for 3 years, except for the fact that we've used it a few times and sort of keep it working. I mean, we've done more good than harm, really.
Bought in 2015, it's 2020, it's the same as a car that's 5 years old.
Yep, exactly.
The runner didn't run. So.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'm getting a nodding of heads that the letter should go. And can I get a nodding of heads that the 75 stays, excuse me, it's 95, that the 95 stays in with another red mark on it? All right, okay. Now I'm down to economic development. We've got waterfront project phase 1 at 100,000, waterfront development phase 2 at 100,000. Government, excuse me, I've got to find my place here again. Government grants of about 118,000. Work in progress coming forward. Well, isn't that the government grant coming forward, the same 18?
No, through the chair, the other 18, we had $30,000 set aside in economic development under a strategy program in the 2020 budget.
Oh, yeah.
We've used some of that money for docking and such. This is the remaining money of that 30. So we're gonna whip that amount forward into 2021 to help with the red grant, our portion of the red grant.
Okay, so the total coming in would be 136,000, and we would need 63,000 from taxation.
Correct.
And that would create a $200,000 project, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, so am I getting a nodding of heads around that project?
Just want to be clear that we do have $100,000 coming in, or if we qualify for $100,000.
No, for the ISIP COVID resilience stream, we've been allotted 100,000. We have to submit, but it's not a competitive program. You just have to make sure your project is eligible under the stream. And this is one of the criteria is a waterfront or paths, bike trails, open spaces, parks. That's all one of the asset categories within the program. I think, yeah, from what I was in on a webinar, and it basically said it's an allotted amount. It's not competitive. It's if you want it, you apply for it.
Good. And the $200,000, will that be? Is it anticipated that the $200,000 will cover design, engineering, design, tender, and construction? All 3 phases?
The hope is to finish up on phase 1 and get as much as we can get done for 100,000 in phase 2.
Okay, so am I getting a nodding of heads here? Okay, that one's in then. Now I'm at Public Works, and first of all, equipment. Brush head for a high hoe, 48,000, and replacement of a GMC 1-ton for 55,000. Now, I look at trying to think where it is here, I saw it earlier. Where is it? There's a backup document someplace. Point me to the backup document.
Be 1 second, Mr. Chair.
Big Martin?
I said it'll just be 1 second.
I remember reading about it.
Third page. Whoa. Third page. Next page. Next page. No. Go up. There.
That's page 50.
Say again?
Page 50, towards the bottom.
Oh yes, right down at the bottom of the page. Under reconstruction, not under equipment, it's under reconstruction. Brush head for high hoe, new unit for brushing, page 450 of 137. 48,000. Now I need a nodding of heads there, not much of a,
Question, Mr. Mayor.
go ahead.
Did we not just buy a brush head just a short while ago?
Uh,
Mower maybe.
My question is, do we have a brush head? No.
We rent it.
Why are we getting into that? Need special weights on the tractor, the whole business?
It's on the highway.
What's on a high hoe? Is that something that we need to buy?
Rent it, why do we spend $15,000 a year on rental?
So we buy one, they'll be able to do more. Is that right?
Oh, sitting there.
Discussion, more discussion, the chair's looking for discussion here. Chair needs direction.
What
I
do
have
we
an
get done for
advocate, I have
15?
one advocate, Councillor Hunter, I don't have any others.
Yeah, I'll leave it in.
You're able, we wanna brush these ditches and stuff, and you wanna keep the canal bank clean, this thing can reach down the canal bank and brush that for.
So what's it cost us a year now?
I have no idea. What's it cost us a year now?
So I believe it's 15,000 that's set in the budget for.
That's what we allocate.
That's right.
And is that for the
That's an
summer or
operation.
whatever?
That is, we basically use up to 15,000 and stop.
We just use whatever Tackabee or whoever we
Whatever
rent it
can
from,
be done to that amount,
and then that's it.
that's it.
So we had our own, we can keep going.
The ability would be there.
Okay.
Okay, I need
Yeah.
more,
I'm in.
I'll leave it in.
we gotta get it on, okay, so I see that number is staying in. Now I'm replacing a GMC half-ton, and I'm back to page 50. This unit is reaching the end of its life expectancy. It is currently out of service due to an engine issue. I've heard a lot about engine issues this year. It is currently used for patching, signs, hall safety signs, and barricades the site. And well, it tows the brush chipper during tree and brush removal operations. I guess we have nothing else to tow the brush chipper with. So 55,000 to replace a half ton. Is it a necessary expenditure?
It's a one-ton.
One ton.
It's one-ton.
1 ton. Is it a necessary expenditure?
Do we need a 1 ton?
Do we need a 1 ton?
Definitely need 1 ton.
How many 1 tons do we need? I don't
No
know.
money you got.
Well, the thing that bothers me is it's not being used right now, so we're getting along without it. We can get along without it, do we need to replace it?
So, if I may, Mr. Chair, if I'm not mistaken, the other 1 ton is part of being replaced with respect to the vehicles this year. So truck 8 and the 1 ton was to be replaced. So that 1 ton that's there will be only there for another 2 or 3 weeks, so.
Well, but you know, the thing is, I'm gonna be a little bit critical here.
Sure.
The description that I have in front of me, this is the description that I have in front of me, asking me to spend $55,000. Blue GMC blue 1 ton. No year, no mileage, no estimate of what it costs for maintenance, no maintenance record.
So with all due respect, Mr. Chair, this was the first glance at the draft capital. Correct, there probably should have been some more detail, and we can certainly provide some additional detail.
Okay, I need,
Would we keep this vehicle, like it's not working, I'm assuming we're gonna make it work. Would we keep it in the fleet then, or would we sell it, or what would we do with it?
Well, at the age of it, with the mileage and the condition of it, it's out of service because it's not worth getting it repaired. So it would no longer
What
be
year is
worth
it, you know?
I'm sorry, off the top of my head,
I don't know the year off the top of my head, but I believe the mileage is around 311,000 K or maybe higher than that. It's up
So,
over
so
300,000.
it's a piece of junk.
The problem with it right now is the turbo's gone it. The maintenance costs were up quite a bit on it, trying to chase that down. For the COV inspection this year, it had to have the box replaced on it. So the costs are up way higher than probably the machine's worth.
did we replace the box?
It was replaced early in the season, yes. The
This
thing is that the
this
box,
is the only vehicle that we've run into so far, I guess it may be the only one in there, but, I have an issue with vehicles, really, I mean, it sort of falls in, oh, we gotta replace this vehicle, and there's sort of no review by our committee, and maybe it shouldn't be in this committee, maybe it's in the Public Works Committee, but, you know, I would think that we got a vehicle fleet that's worth quite a bit of, like, potentially worth quite a bit of money. And I think it's, as stewards for the public, we have a duty to perform that stewardship to the best of our ability. And that means good operational planning and maintenance planning and communication to the council on where are we on the vehicle plan and so on and so on. Every year for the past 2 or 3 years, we get hammered with this vehicle's not working, we gotta spend 100 grand here, 80 grand there. Quite frankly, I'm sick of it. I think it's a disgrace that an organization like this would have vehicles and they don't have a maintenance plan that's available to the council or the public. There's a hell of a lot of money there. And I think it's just inadmissible, unforgivable. So that's where I stand on it, and I'm only a member of the public.
Well, the problem is that I think we've indicated that on many occasions as a group, and still we don't get the reports.
So, Mr. Chair, to be quite fair, there's a bylaw that spells out the preventative maintenance program. It's been presented to council.
The bylaw is
This
one
committee as well. You've seen the maintenance records. They've come to this committee, Public Works Committee, several times.
They don't
I
come on a
think
regular
it's-
basis.
I think it's come at a reasonable basis.
That's not the same as a regular basis. And we've asked for the full list and for the full program, and for how the program is being executed and how it's being rolled out. That's what we've asked for. And this is what I have in front of me tonight. Okay, I'm moving on here, because otherwise we're gonna be here all night.
It's obviously we have to replace the vehicle.
Well, okay, so then the 55 is staying in. Am I getting a nodding of heads here?
Let's leave it in with a red mark.
It's in with a red mark then.
The main truck that they use for going around to do all the small jobs and stuff. Moves the barriers, moves the garbage cans, it picks up
Okay.
brush, it does everything, so that's why it's got so many miles on it.
All right, now I'm on the next item down, which is gravel to surface treatment. I've got Latimer Road, which is a joint project with North Grenville. It's a work in progress carried over from 2020. I think there was $54,000 worth of work still had to be done. I can't remember what that $54,000 represented. Was it line painting? No.
Culvert,
What-
culvert?
What was the issue? What was left to be done?
Through the chair, it's guardrails and a slurry coat.
Guardrails and a slurry coat, okay. So, beg your pardon?
No, I'm just saying guardrails on Latimer. Really?
I question that too.
Hmm?
I question that too, because I've been down 2 or 3 times, it was on account of the drainage ditch that crosses there, but the drainage ditch isn't very deep where it crosses there, so.
But was there guardrails?
No, it wasn't before.
No, I didn't think so. Okay, okay.
Okay, but this is a North Grenville project.
Yeah.
They've obviously done the design, we're paying half the cost, right? So we're not at a point where we can argue about the design at
Oh,
this
no,
stage.
no.
All right, so we all understand that that 54 is staying in then, right? Okay, so now I'm down to bridges and culverts. There's a Ventnor Bridge. Again, this is work in project that's carried over from 2020. It's 53,000. I did see an explanation for it. And the explanation says, new retaining walls to replace the gate, it's on page 51 of 137. New retaining walls to replace gabion stone baskets. They have deteriorated to a point that can't be repaired. The project would replace the existing baskets with precast blocks. Engineering and CA, what's CA?
Contract administration.
Contract administration. It comes in at, is it 5,000?
53 is the total.
53. Comes in at 53. All right, discussion if any, questions if any? Looking for a nodding of heads here.
Yes.
Okay, it's in. Now, I'm at, next item down, which is engineering survey costs for Cedar Grove Road design, $100,000. Now, I don't know where I lost track of things, but I thought that we had indicated at a previous meeting that we weren't gonna spend money on Cedar Grove Road this year until we know what's happening with the job site challenge, but that's just me. My mind's not too sharp.
I think you're correct, Mr. Mayor. We did discuss that.
I need more discussion here. It's $100,000. It looks like it's a design, from Fraser to Boundary.
So, if I may, Mr. Chair, this is work in progress from what was budgeted in this year in 2020.
So if it was work in progress from 2020, was it the whole 100,000 in 2020?
There was 100,000 budgeted. I don't believe that we have the invoices in yet for.
So do we do anything?
We did do some work, but I don't believe
I
that the
haven't seen
invoice,
invoicing.
I don't believe the invoicing has arrived yet.
So am I to understand that what we're doing is we're whipping forward the unused portion of the 100,000 that was budgeted last year?
That is correct.
So is everybody on? Go
I've seen
ahead.
surveyor tags along Cedar Grove Road, so obviously somebody's doing something.
Okay, so does everybody understand, and this is design only at this stage, as I understand it, right? Okay, I need a nodding of heads here.
You got it.
I'm not, I wanna indicate that I'm not, I'm not
considered by-
100% on this one.
Is that considered, Mr. Mayor, by the town to be the worst section of that road?
Beg pardon?
That portion from 44, Fraser, is that considered by the township to be the worst portion of that Cedar Grove Road? Because if you drive that road, it's bumpy and holes and whatever, until you hit the boundary of Augusta, and then it's beautiful from Augusta over to.
It's from Fraser to Boundary,
Yeah.
not 44 down to Fraser.
Well, it says, where is it?
Fraser to Boundary.
It says
Where
Fraser.
did I see that?
They broke it up to Noe Road and then
Where
up
did I
to
see
down.
44?
There's a 44,
It's in-
Richardson Road.
That section's in bad condition.
I'm sorry, it must be my mistake.
So,
No, you saw it in
It's further
Richardson
down.
Road.
what's that?
Further down, you see.
Further down.
So where am I here?
Yeah, I got the one, it's down further, resurfacing, yeah. So,
So it is definitely from Fraser to Boundary then, eh?
for the design?
Yes?
Yeah,
That's correct.
okay, good. I think it should stay. I
Okay.
agree.
I had it the wrong way then. All right, so am I getting a nodding of heads that that goes forward then? Design only?
I've already started it, so.
Okay. All right, now, I'm at the next item, the next group, which is resurfacing roads. And I have Judy Place,
Yes,
what?
I said yes.
What?
Well, because we have everything done down there except for that Judy Place. If you remember last year, we ran into a problem because of Hudson. And if we don't do it, we'll never do it.
Is, through the chair,
Go ahead.
is it my memory leaving me too, but was it not 27,000 last year and it's changed to 43 this year? I
Better cost.
thought I brought my budget from last year and I didn't.
It's better cost estimates this time. We ran into problems with our resurfacing projects in 2020, as council is well aware. So these are our better costing estimates for the resurfacing roads.
Okay, I need more discussion, Chair, for direction here.
Yes, I agree. I mean,
You're in? Okay, I'm getting a nodding of heads that the 43 is in.
Yes.
All right, now, Ann Street, 0.1 kilometer from Shanley Road to the end of the road, 56,000. I need discussion.
We're gonna do Judy Place at the shape it's in compared to N Street, I guess we better do N Street, 'cause it's a hell of a lot worse than Judy Place.
Oh, yeah.
It sure is. But am I under the impression that we're only going to bring it to gravel?
No, it's a resurfacing.
Resurfacing.
Yeah, but I thought I read somewhere where it was going to be left at gravel.
Well, it says, full reconstruction, complete with granular base, 450 millimeters,
Yes.
and HL4, 50 millimeters. It's HL4, high lift 4, 50 millimeters of rolled, hot rolled. 0.1 kilometer from Shanley Road to the end of the road, 56,000.
All right.
Okay? All right, so that's in, everybody's in?
Yeah.
All right, now I'm on Cedar Grove, 1.3 kilometers from County Road 44 to Fraser. There's where I'm getting my confusion. 253,000. That's where I have my problems.
I don't see doing that.
No.
I'm getting,
Not until we get to
Heavier
Jackson.
traffic road we're gonna have to build yet.
yes, exactly. Okay, so that's out. Am I getting a nodding of heads? That's out.
That's it.
I need a nodding of heads, gentlemen.
Yes.
Don't put your eyes on the desk where I can't see what you're thinking. Okay.
Be a bobblehead here.
All
No, no,
right,
he said naughty, not bubble.
Just to be clear.
all right, that section of Cedar Grove is out. Now I'm at Commerce Drive, 0.6 of a kilometer from County Road 2 to the end of the road, 191,000. And let me see, 95,000 of that comes,
If I may, Mr. Chair,
yep,
with Cedar Grove Road, with the consensus of that being removed, there's 230,000 with respect to government grants that could be readjusted for some of these remaining roads, so that.
yeah, or you can come back with another plan. Yeah, this
some
is first-
additional roads, yeah.
Yeah, this is first run, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, so, on Commerce Drive, it looks like 95,000 comes from taxation and 96,000 comes from government grants. So is Commerce Drive in? Do I get a nodding of heads there?
Well,
I need comments, I need direction.
Unless you're gonna restructure from the 253, restructure some of that.
What are you talking about?
Well, the CAO just said that because we're taking the 253 out, it may impact the other following 4 items, so I'm just wondering.
Oh, I see what you're saying, take more money out of the 230 to go onto the Commerce Drive.
Yeah,
Okay, well, the big question at this point is whether Commerce Drive is in or out. That's the issue.
well, okay, you mean the project only.
The project, I'm just talking about the project itself.
it's not in very good shape, so.
Say again?
It's not in very good shape.
No, it needs to be replaced. Okay, so it's gonna, now the treasurer may come back with another financing option,
I will.
okay? And then Rooney Road, 0.4 kilometers from the MTO garage to County Road 44. Again, it's 171,000. And again, now we're just talking about the project itself. The financing option may change.
It's in bad shape.
It's
Bad
not
shape?
a bad
It is in
shape
bad
road.
shape.
Real bad.
All right, so that's in. I'm getting a nodding of heads.
I agree with that.
All right, the next is Edison Avenue, 0.7 kilometers from County Road 2 to Commerce Drive, 103,000. The whole 103 projected to come out of taxation, but again, we could have a different financing plan.
Good, yes.
So just talking about the project itself, Edison Avenue, there's no question it's getting beat up pretty badly, especially at the bottom end. I'm not sure that we have a justification for doing that whole Edison Avenue all the way around to Commerce Drive. I didn't think it was in that bad a
I
shape.
didn't think it was in very bad shape, I was over the other night there, I didn't think it was that bad a shape yet. So-
No, that's, once you get up to the top of the hill,
Well, even going up, it's not that bad, we've got a lot of roads in the township a lot worse than that one, so.
well, but we agree at the bottom, it needs, right? I'm with Councillor Hunter on this one.
Those salt trucks come out of that exit onto Commerce Drive, or to Edison Drive, and they really chew up the asphalt.
Yeah, but we're talking the bottom end, we're not talking the whole thing.
Yeah, just that lower end.
Yeah,
I don't think we need to go all the way up the hill, I think just the bottom.
100 meters or so.
Where the turn-ons, where they turn onto it, it's bad.
Just reassess it.
Can I say that we're going to put a circle around that Edison Drive project, and we'd like to see a justification for that full project?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I can't believe that the top end is that bad. All right, now the last one. So again, that 133 has got a big red mark beside it. And the project itself, we're saying it should be reevaluated. So now, First Street, 0.14 kilometers from Walker to Shanley Road. 28,000, all out of out of this year's levy. Discussion, if any?
It's bad.
Is it bad? I don't know it.
Well, there's worse, but it's bad. It's bad.
I don't see any streets down here in Spencerville, the Charles Street and them on there, that's in a lot worse shape than.
Well, I think they're gonna be on track. I mean, if we do this 30,000 and do it properly, I think we're gonna see a big chunk of work in Spencerville next year. I mean, I don't know how we can avoid it.
I think we need to get something done this year on it, especially on Charles Street going down there. The engineering on that's pretty simple.
This
It's going
is,
straight down the drainage on it, there's not much to engineer with that, so the rest to do the engineering up across Irving and down South Street, one thing and every day, you gotta decide where it's gonna go. I don't think the ministry's gonna let you run a whole bunch of water down on the east side of the dam, they're gonna want it to go above the dam, most of it, so it'll have to be engineered. Charles Street's just going straight down through the river, so it's going down, there's no road left there basically, so I think we gotta show the people in Spencerville that we're willing to do something here to correct the drainage problem this year, not promises. They can get promises for a lot of times in those streets that we're gonna do something, so.
okay, so this budget is gonna have to go back for a second round anyway. So I think you've heard, the staff has heard the discussion. Charles Street is a hot item. We haven't landed on a decision on First Street yet.
It's $28,000, Mr. Mayor. I think we should leave it in.
Okay, do
I don't know the roads, so.
okay.
There could be quite a few dollars freed up too, if some
Yeah.
of these.
Well, we already took out Commerce Drive, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
so-
All right, so, I think we've done a good round on, first round here. And, we'll leave Charles Street in, sort of hanging. And then the treasurer's gonna come back with a different financing plan here for the roads program. All right, now, the implication of all of that is that we're still looking at roughly a capital project of about 1.8 million on roads work and capital for 2021. Now, that's first blush. Is there anything that I've missed here before I move on?
We haven't had any discussion there on Totem Ranch Road there, the border boundary.
That's correct, we have not, and I've gotten a couple of emails about that lately. Totem Ranch Road.
Totem Ranch West, border between us and North Denver.
I wonder if we have the capacity, if we would suggest to North Grenville, actually, they have a larger and much more robust engineering staff than we do, and it is a boundary road.
Yeah.
I wonder if we shouldn't ask them to take lead and put Totem Ranch Road on their plan. Would you agree with that?
I haven't been over there lately, but has it deteriorated more?
It's bad.
That,
It's pretty
It was
yes.
bad, when the last time, it was about 2
Oh,
years
it's
ago, I
worse
was
now,
up there.
it's a lot worse now because you got another business
Another business,
operating on
yeah.
there.
And it is bad, when it rains, it's.
Yeah.
Okay,
Rain
so-
is-
The buses have trouble
I think it's good.
every year on it, they're going in the ditch, sliding off it and stuff. There's-
All right, so
Be fun on the litter.
I think the staff has got direction there. Charles Street and Totem Ranch Road to be explored. I think there's still time for both of those. And it's Totem Ranch Road East, right?
No,
East.
west,
West.
west.
West?
The west part's the part that I've been on most, and
Okay.
it was terrible.
So that's west of 416.
No,
No.
No, 44.
West of 44.
west
So it would be Totem Ranch Road East,
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah.
West of 44.
west of 44.
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay, so
It is Totem
I
Ranch
know,
Road
I know
East.
my east from my west.
You're right, sorry, Mr. Mayor. Because we do take care of
No
40,
wonder it's
we do
8:15,
take
we're
care
all
of west too.
Yeah.
Totem Ranch, right?
Okay, well, it is also a boundary road.
Yeah.
All right, so the
Drive
staff
straight
will,
down through, it's a continuation of Latimer's.
so the staff will explore the relationship with North Grenville on Totem Ranch Road East, and they'll come back to us with a proposal for Charles Street. All right, so now I think I can, have I completed that?
You haven't gone through all of the items, but the draft capital summary is basically just the report out of Minosoft, which is outlining the items that were in the capital funding analysis. So it's kind of a replication. And the only other thing is the draft reserve and reserve fund report, seeing where our balances are and the fact that we're not taking as much out. Last year, we took out 170 for the fire truck, or for 2020. We're only anticipating to take out the 30, which was set aside in 2020 for the filter, for the pool.
So that's on page 62,
Yeah,
right?
and in that particular report, I'm not really signaling the transfers in yet. We wanted to see where council or committee was after discussing the capital. I do want to bring note to council or to committee that the number of 1.8 is a very shaved down budget for draft capital. When we brought capital to committee last year, committee deferred over $1 million from that first draft. So we were, we ended up at $1 million supported. We had actually another $1 million that was deferred. So I just want council or committee to be cognizant of the fact that senior management went to the extent of trying to bring the capital within the same taxation supported capital. So if we're deferring projects or we're taking a project off, we either need to bring a project back in, like council's indicating, or try to put some money into reserves. Our amortization is 1.7, so I would hate to bring any of our capital project values under that 1.7, because that 1.7 is that historical amortization, not replacement cost. And auditors are always saying, make sure that you're at least covering what you would potentially have in amortization, or else you're going to be affecting that infrastructure deficit.
Yep.
So we've made a conscious effort to try to bring the capital into something that's palatable at the table. So if you're adding something or taking something away, just try to keep that 1.8 or 1.9 $1 million-ish. supported by capital, and whether if we don't support it by a specific project by that capital taxation, we should be putting the money aside, because we know there's a lot of projects slated in 2022.
Okay. All right, so, but this is just first blush here at this thing
Exactly.
around.
Yeah.
So I think we can, if we look quickly at page 62, which is the reserve fund, you're just showing the transfers out of
Correct.
about 371, right?
Correct.
Right. And you didn't show the transfers in yet, so,
I've indicated a few there, but as again, those are still very draft. We don't,
Right.
we haven't actually put them into the entire budget to see what the impact is.
and I don't wanna look at the projected, December 2021 balance, because the transfers in are not in here yet at all either.
Right.
But you know, tell me where I'm wrong here. If I look at that balance, if I look at that projected balance for December 31st, 2021, which is 8.6 million, if I look at that, you've shown the transfers out, right? But you haven't shown the transfers in. So can I not extrapolate and say that projected number will be larger than 8.6?
No, well, we haven't, haven't done all of the transfers out, on this particular sheet. I actually should have taken 30,000 out of the reserve up there for recreation. But there's still like, we still have to determine how much we're gonna put in if we're not going to be doing the capital this year, so.
Okay, so let's
So
just,
that number's still in flux.
all right, so let's just set this one aside for now.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, before we leave this, would the council entertain having the treasury reintroduce some of those 2020 capital projects that we turfed out for the next round, so that we can see, try to establish an upper limit of what we're gonna try and deal with?
What did we reject from 2020 that isn't showing in 2021?
Oh, I can certainly bring that back to you if you wanna see what was actually, some of it has
Maybe
been,
not all of it, but use
some-
your judgment.
yeah,
too.
some of it has actually been brought in because, for instance, the filtration pool
Yeah,
and
yeah.
brush head and stuff, a lot of that has been brought back in again.
Yeah.
But if there's other things, I can certainly indicate and
Yeah,
see what
like I'd
those
especially
things that
go
we have
back
to
to
put.
my little burst about vehicles, but I'd like to see something in the vehicle side. I don't remember what we've taken out, I didn't bring my book with me.
Okay.
Well, we took one out and ended up buying it anyway, so,
Well, I think we took more than just one
you
though.
know, but I said the one we took out
Yeah.
and ended up buying, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Those are the tools we,
Mhm.
Okay, so,
those are the tools we use to accomplish our other work.
okay, so I'm moving on because it is 8:20, and I think we've had a good, robust first look at the 2021 draft capital. And so I'm moving on to 7A, which is a severance application at 7131 County Road 22, Zwarts and Stinson. And we do have a recommendation, I think, in front of us. And I don't know whether everybody's had a chance to look at this. And I know that our community development coordinator is not here, but to the CAO, the only question I have about this severance is the following. On page 65 of 137, I have the drawing. I have a note, buildings with X have collapsed. Do we have any mechanism to say as a condition of this severance that those buildings that have collapsed are to be removed? Or the debris is to be removed as a condition of severance? Do we have that right to say that?
Through the chair, I would anticipate so, but I would need, I need to just see some confirmation. before-
Okay, and this application for severance has already gone to counties, is now coming back to us for recommendation? Or are they looking for our recommendation before they submit to county?
So it would typically go to county, and they're asking for our recommendation, or any conditions that we would want to put.
Okay, so I'm chair's looking for direction here. I have a recommendation in front of me, actually looking for a mover and a seconder.
I'll move it.
I have a Councillor Hunter moving. Do I have a seconder,
I'll
please?
second it.
I have Councillor Dillabaugh seconding. Further discussion, if any, before I call the question? I'm about to call the question on this one. Those in favor?
Yes.
Motion is carried. The recommendation will go to council. And, Mr. CAO, can you see if you can get the answer to that question? By the time it gets to council, whether we have the right to impose that condition? Okay, now I'm at 7B, which is a severance application for 2002 County Road 2, the Patrick Estate. And I have a recommendation in front of me. Committee recommend in favor of severance B 11920. One condition attached. Chair is looking for a mover and a seconder on this one.
Yeah, I'll move that.
Okay, I have Councillor Dillabaugh moving, and is it Mr. Bradley that I heard?
I second it.
Mr. Bradley seconding. Everybody's had a chance to look at the briefing. No questions, if any? No questions, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And I think we've got now a third quarter statement of remuneration and expenses. Item number 7C on the agenda. The chart is there, everybody to see. Chart gets to be made public. And I think this is for information only, is it not? Discussion, questions, if any, before I move on? Hearing none, I'm moving on. 7D, extension agreement for Mr. Shaver, Yannick Shaver. Property roll number da-da-da. And I do have a recommendation in front of me. Before I call for mover and seconder on the recommendation, a question to the treasurer. This is called an extension agreement with Mr. Shaver. There is already an agreement in place?
No,
Oh, there isn't.
there was a pre-authorized monthly payment which they became default in. And so then we registered on the property on, issued a tax certificate on the 28th of this year. And since we registered the tax certificate, they've come to ask for the extension agreement. Because once we get into actually doing a certificate, then they have to go into an extension agreement with the council in order to be not registered on, or like not.
Fair enough.
Not.
Now, just a quick question. How many of these extension agreements are we now running?
We have none currently active.
No?
No, we had, the last one that that was before council was in 2016, and that finished up in 2018, and this is the only one that we've had recently. I don't have any
well, that's
other.
good.
Yeah.
All right, chair's mover, looking for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Hunter moving,
Yes.
and Councillor Cameron seconding. Further discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And now I'm at item number 7E. What's that? The draft budget for the Cardinal Water budget. Draft Cardinal Water budget. All right, now, this is an interesting one for me. I can ask questions here all night, but you guys go first. Rest of the table first. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, in the briefing note, we refer to, units, $2 per month per unit. Could you please explain to me what a unit is?
Certainly. Would you want to go? You want me
Sure.
to-
Based on, a unit is any residential unit, so apartment or house.
So then we have about 10,000 units out there.
No,
No.
nowhere near that.
Well, if you're gonna charge $2 per unit and you're going to
Per
generate
month.
$21,000
Per month.
Per month.
per month,
$2 per month
yes.
per,
Okay, okay.
$24 a year.
Yeah, okay, sorry, my mistake there, that's fine. Now, does this include business?
They are a unit, they're considered a unit.
I'm sorry?
They are considered a unit.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for this, for 7E, I will support the recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Well, just a question, first of all, so each apartment, so the guy that's got a 20-unit apartment building, he's gonna get assessed $2 on each apartment each month, right?
Yeah, they currently have a base rate for each unit.
Okay,
Same as a
no
resident.
meters.
Oh, they have a base rate and no meters, yes, but they are charged per unit, a base rate per unit,
Yeah,
same concept.
okay. I'll tell you what my problem is here. We've got 5 capital items listed. Engineering for County Road 2 is $50K. Anderson Pump is $22K. The filter overhaul is $18K. The SCADA is $8, and the tower safety upgrades are $30. We're gonna generate $21,480 from this $2 per unit per month levy. But we're only gonna transfer $12,950 into the reserve because we're gonna swallow up 8 of it in capital. And I have a real problem with that. Because the whole concept of that levy was that it would go straight to the reserve. And that's not what's happening here. And I'm wondering if there isn't some way of reworking the capital so that we see that full $21,480 going directly into the reserve. And I know that those numbers for the capital have got to be rough estimates. How accurate and how much more refined can we get those capital estimates fine-tuned so that we show the full 21,000 going to transferring to the reserve?
Well, through the chair, I think I would say that the only one that you have reasonable wiggle room would be the engineering for County Road 2.
Now, are the others on that capital list, are the others all necessary must-do this year?
Yes, that is why they're on there.
Well, it sort of thwarts council's concept of the levy, of the $2 per unit levy. Councillor?
Yes, when we first discussed a levy, which was several months ago, I thought we were discussing a levy to go against the infrastructure, the aging infrastructure within the village of Cardinal. And I was quite surprised to see some of these capital items on here today as well, because I'm like you. I thought we were going to put it into a reserve, and when the time needed, and County Road number 2 was mentioned, and that's fine. That's, to me, that's infrastructure is what's in the ground. So there's a fine line here as to whether these items, the tower updates and whatnot, whether they're classified as infrastructure or not.
No, they're all capital.
These are, these are capital.
But he makes the distinction between infrastructure, which is that County Road 2 project.
Yes.
And these items here.
Well, I agree with that. I think, at least for me in my mind, when we had the discussion about a levy, it was to offset, or help offset the future costs of the Highway 2 project. That's the way.
That's correct.
That's the way I remember it.
So the
way
check-
of rectifying it, you just have to raise the water rate until you get it up that it covers the thing and direct the 21.4 straight to reserves.
Yes, exactly. You're absolutely correct. $8,530, but an increase in the water rate, and I think that's what we're looking at here.
I don't think maybe we made it clear enough to our administration that we wanted 21,480 directed straight to reserves. Not
Well-
considered in the budget.
Well, I think,
So
I thought we did.
So through the chair, we certainly understood the concept, but I think that a $2 per month charge is substantially higher than what we would normally do in water rates. And we're continuing to get capital projects done, and we would be continuing to put into reserve. The last couple of years, we've put a substantial amount into the water reserves because we've done fewer projects.
Okay, a question for the chair, or for the treasurer. The reserve fund balance as of November the 30th was $603,000. Are you anticipating that we will be able to enhance that reserve by year end, by a little bit more?
Yes, we had budgeted for 2020, we had budgeted 104,000 to go in, almost 105,000. Currently, we're sitting with a surplus of almost 70,000, and that's only with our revenues up to, I believe, the end of September or mid-September. And based on that, the rate of revenues that are coming in, we should still be able to put some money into from 2020's operational monies that will help to fund. I mean, we can transfer out, but we're to cover these capital, and transfer the levy in, but it's all one and the same. The system is in and itself.
Well, it is and it isn't, because at least we get to see the 21,480, the capital, the $2 per month per unit capital levy. At least we get to see it going into the reserve fund. So, if there's no way of refining those capital costs any further than they are, at least we would get to see and make the decision as to how much of those were gonna come out, which of those projects we were gonna finance from the reserve fund. Looks like it would have to be the SCADA thing. Anyway, I need more direction here. I don't wanna be the only one talking. What are the rest of you feeling here? I haven't called for a mover and a seconder here yet.
We see often organizations budget these kind of incremental fees for specific aspects. And invariably, they end up, dipping into those projects and funds, and there's never enough to do what they wanted to do with the original concept. So I'm reticent to levy a $2 fee, excuse me, a $2 fee, put it aside into a reserve fund, and then, draw it out for something that it was not intended for. So I think we have to make sure that we're putting it into that fund for that reason, which was, as I recall, 2 or 3 months ago, for infrastructure.
County Road 2.
Yeah,
County Road 2, you wanted it?
Yeah, I was just going to say that in our very next item, which is 7, the next 7, whatever, regarding the wastewater, these are sort of tied together because you're gonna eventually have to add the 2 together. But anyway, as you know, there's 2 of us sitting in this room that are on this system, and I have no qualms with the $2. That's for safe, clean drinking water. That's well worth it. However, I do want the levy to go into a reserve specifically for infrastructure.
All right, so I've got a recommendation in front of me that doesn't go that far. The recommendation I have in front of me recommends that council direct staff to draft a bylaw to adopt the 2021 estimates. And those are the estimates that you see on page 79. And impose a $2 per month capital levy. Now, it's $2 per month per unit. That's missing from the recommendation. Capital levy to the user rates, for the users of the Cardinal Water System, effective January 1, 2020, and we don't indicate in that recommendation that we want that money to be applied to an infrastructure replacement fund. We don't indicate that. Chair's looking for direction. Silence is deafening.
Through the chair, can I get some clarification in terms of when committee's talking about setting this money aside in an infrastructure fund? Is the intent of committee to actually put this money completely segregated from the Cardinal Water Reserve Fund?
That's a good question. I thought it was going to go into the reserve fund, but that the reserve fund that we're already running would be somehow shepherded in such a way to support that infrastructure project on County Road 2.
Right. And then within the 21 budget, we have $50,000 allocated to that particular project. So I think the amount that we're not submitting, that $12,000, could by rights be already funding that County Road 2 project by $12,000.
Okay, so what I'd like to do,
Slightly semantic.
yeah, but what I would like to do is, I would like to move on to the next item on the agenda, and I would like the staff to kind of rewrite that recommendation to, and put it in front of me on the table here, so that we have the concept clearly outlined in the recommendation. So that it's clear that it's going into a reserve fund to be used for the County Road 2 infrastructure project. Now, I can rewrite the recommendation if I take a 10-minute break here, but I don't want to do that.
Do we do the PR on this? Do we send a notice out with the bill or something?
Well, I mean, this is the point. I mean, the public meeting, the press is here, theoretically the word gets around. But
is there no overt action on our part too?
Well, generally though, when we put out the first, well, we don't send the bills. Rito St. Lawrence sends the bills. Do we put notices with those bills?
In past, we've never done a capital levy, so it's not something, when we do the imposition of a new water or sewer rate, it just goes to RSL and then they send it out with the bill. There's no notification, it just comes, the new bill has the new rates.
Okay, so do you see what you're being told here? We don't generally inform people, we just send them a new bill.
Yeah, well, if they get wind that it's a capital levy, psychologically, they say, oh, capital levy, I don't mind, $2. It's to do some upgrading work. It doesn't go ad infinitum, like, and this'll be somewhere down the road. Somebody will say, well, it's been there for 35 years, why are we taking it out, you know?
Yeah.
If that's the way we're gonna play it, just raise the rates.
Well, I think you gotta get it started someplace. I mean, the capital levy is the way we decided to start the process, by dedicating the money to that County Road 2 project.
I know.
And remember, the reason we did that is because we had, what, 5 applications that were not successful?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we had to do something.
And that was
And I
all
agree
County
with
Road
that.
2.
I agree with that, but, you know, you create this impression in the mind of our ratepayers that the $2 will be there for some defined period, we don't say when, but ultimately, it's there forever.
It's like income tax was instituted to get us through.
Yeah, or the tire tax, or whatever, stopping you. Government survives on it.
I'm trying to figure out how to,
Another question while you're thinking that, Mr. Mayor, to staff, how will we show this on the bill that comes from Rito St. Lawrence? Will it be shown as a levy, or how will it be shown? What's the mechanism there?
So through the chair, the intent would be to show it as a capital levy on the bill.
Okay, because,
would there be a note that indicates it's for infrastructure reconstruction?
I'd have to confirm to see if there's that ability on the bottom of the.
I mean, they gotta have some functionality in their system for
well,
notes.
the service charges, there's also 2 other service charges on that bill in the amount of 25 and 25 something, one slightly higher because it's the sewer system. But there's already over $50 already assessed as service charges, just on water
So
and wastewater.
If I may, the point that Councillor Kim was referring to is the base charge.
Oh, the
There's a
base charge is now called a service, it's called a service charge?
I don't believe that it's referred to as a service charge.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I believe.
I just happen to have my bill with me. Now, the rest of you guys around the table have never seen one of these.
We're all envious.
Yeah,
We don't really want to.
okay, it's called the wastewater service charge and a water service charge. One is 25.44 and the other one is 28,
And that's the
20,
base,
29.
and that's the base charge.
That's the base charge.
Now, is that a 3-month
Okay.
bill or a?
One.
No, 1 month bill. So, you know,
And then there's a consumption charge.
the consumption charges are peanuts.
Yeah, that's where you go over the threshold, right?
You know, I mean, last month I paid $6 for water, I paid $6.50 for water, and $6.63 for sewer. It's peanuts.
Yeah, what did we do, 60-40? 60 for the base and 60% for the base?
We're more like 55, we're like 55 base and 45 consumption right now.
But on his bill, it would be way, the
Well,
percentage would be a
yeah.
lot different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lower user isn't gonna have the same percentage.
Oh,
On an average,
because-
on an
oh.
average user, it's
Yeah.
supposed to be about a 55, 45,
Okay.
45.
Yeah, so our concept was to recover 55% of the operating costs on the base
On the
charge
base charge
and
yeah.
45% on the consumption charge, on the average user.
On average.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
And, I mean, I use.
Well, if I may take this opportunity, since the bill's there, I think if you look at the water service that's being provided, the wastewater service that's being provided, and you have a single hydro service being provided, I think that makes the water and wastewater look pretty economical.
Oh, absolutely, no question. That's why to me, the $2 is not a whole lot. So, all I'm interested in is it gonna, I'm assuming now that it's gonna be shown as a levy, water and levy wastewater. They would be broken out, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
You're
now
getting a real
that-
bargain, because you're getting water and sewer for less than what Spence was getting for sewer.
Yeah, well, maybe, and you know, maybe Spencerville should start putting the levy on their system too. Anyway, I've had my piece on that one, Mr. Mayor. but,
Okay, so
We
I'm-
still have to talk about the wastewater.
Yes, and I still don't have a way of actioning this recommendation yet. Again, it's just, to me, it's got too many blanks in it, so I'm moving on.
I still think we should be putting the $2 and the $3 strictly separate and raising our budget to whatever if the rate has to go up to cover what the budget is, the rate has to go up to cover the budget, so.
100% agree.
Okay, so, the only thing we can do then is staff has to come back in January and tell us how much they have to increase the rate to cover this capital project that they've got here. Because it's 8,500 that they would have taken out of the 21,480. All right, so I need a new recommendation. So I'm moving on. I'm moving on then to 7F, which is the Cardinal wastewater budget. And the Cardinal wastewater budget is on pages 82 and 83. And again, the same kind of a recommendation. Adopt a $3 per month per unit this time, capital levy effective January 1, 2021, and direct staff to prepare a bylaw to adopt the estimates and impose rates for the users of the Cardinal wastewater system. I need a mover and a seconder for that one.
Discussion.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I really don't like the $3. I would be more happy with $2, because you're going up 33% on the wastewater. That seems like a lot. And as it stands, if we leave it at $3, remember now, we're looking at $60 a year levy. I would be more comfortable with a $2 charge.
But the problem is that your reserve fund balance there is only $273.
Yeah.
273,000 in that account compared to 600,000 in the other account. So you've got a larger hill to climb here.
Yes, I do. However, and I also want to mention as well that, remember now, this is all borne by the users in Cardinal. And as I pointed out a few meetings ago, does staff have any idea on how much the well studies have cost in Spencerville? And I just want to make sure that that's not going to affect the general levy because, or the general taxation, because I don't think the users in Cardinal should have to pay for a problem that you have in Spencerville, or we have in Spencerville, I should say, where they're already now gonna get hit with a $60 a year levy and plus possibly a water increase. So I want some assurance that those costs associated in Spencerville here this year are not going to be borne by the users in Cardinal.
That's no different than our survey costs and anything else, or we just spent money in Johnstown doing a water survey too, everybody's paying for them.
Yeah, and I have,
These are just.
and actually I have really no problem with that, but this was generated by wells that were bad. The village people are already paying a lot of money.
Okay, so we're getting off topic here because I got,
Yes, we are.
I've got a recommendation in front of me that I've got to get back to here. And clearly the intent of this recommendation is to get us, is to build up this reserve fund so that we'll have some money available to do this infrastructure work on County Road 2. That's what
I'll
we
move
gotta-
that motion,
gotta be
that
focused here.
recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so I got a mover. We got a seconder. We don't have a seconder yet. Well, I need a seconder. Where's my seconder gonna come from?
For what? For the wastewater or?
Yeah, for the wastewater, the $3. Okay, I got a seconder. Now, do we all understand what we're voting on here?
So before we vote though, do we not have the same issue with this recommendation that we did with the last recommendation?
Well,
The only difference I see here is that we're actually putting all the money that would come in, they're putting 55,000 over into reserves, and we're taking in.
But it's not written,
31,000.
it's not written that way in the
No, but
recommendation.
it's actually going in a lot of money.
Are you referring to the fact that it doesn't indicate that it's to go straight to a reserve fund?
Yeah, I mean, if that's the issue we had with nobody moving and seconding the last recommendation, to me, it's the exact same issue with this one. It was a $5 levy. We broken up into two pieces that was supposed to be directed towards the Highway 2 project, and in either recommendation, it says that.
Okay, so, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna bypass on this one as well, and, yeah, I got a mover and a seconder, that's true, I can't just take it off the table, can I? Can't take it off the table. So, I was gonna suggest that it come back, the council meeting is next week. We've had the discussion, the base discussion here. The only thing that we don't have in front of us is a nice tight recommendation that indicates what's happening, how these two levies are going to be put into effect. So, staff could get that recommendation to us by next week if they can't do it this meeting.
I will remove my motion of that recommendation then until the next meeting for staff.
Okay, so you're gonna withdraw your mover?
Yeah.
And Councillor Hunter will withdraw? Okay, so now it's over to staff again. All right, so now I'm on 7G, which is the draft Spencerville wastewater budget. And recommends the council direct staff to prepare a bylaw to adopt the 2021 estimates for the users of the Spencerville sewer system. And you've got the numbers in front of you on page 86 and 87. You're showing the reserve fund balance as of November the 30th to be $281,000. You're going to balance out, or do you have any estimate of how you'll balance out the year on your operations?
Right at this point, I don't have an exact. We still have numbers coming in with respect to the wells issues and some of the capital, or like the maintenance that we had to do on the sewer systems. So I don't have the exact number for year end for 2020.
Okay,
But
all
we
right.
do have additional revenues in 2020 because we have our next quarter is another 36,000, so we'll end up about 150 instead of the 145.
Yep,
But I just don't know where all my year-end numbers are gonna land.
okay. And this one, there's no increase in the rate, right?
Right, because we
And there's no levy imposed.
we're not changing the levy. No, we are
Right.
not doing a capital levy on this one.
Okay, all right. So this recommendation can stand the way it is. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Hunter moving, does he have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Councillor Cameron seconding. Those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's carried. So that gets through there. All right, now we're at the year-end report. And 7H, 4 pages, and I just, before we even start, want to thank the clerk for putting this together. I mean, I know we were a busy council, but this really highlights it. I don't know what to say. Anybody got a comment here?
I think it's good.
Well, it's a very comprehensive assessment of what we've been doing.
I'd like to comment on it, because I think we've come through a dramatic year. Hopefully next year is gonna be easier on our staff, but we've come through a year that had a lot of ups and downs through the year that they've had to deal with. I'd like to comment on our new CEO here for coming in under the gun of fire, I guess you'd call it here. I don't think, I mentioned to him the other day, I don't think we ever had a chief administrative officer take over that had to come in and deal with as many things in his first 6 or 7 months on the job as he's had to. And our clerk and treasurer have been in the same boat here, trying to keep everybody informed of what's going on as a clerk, and the treasurer that's had to continuously try to balance finances with some things we've canceled that we've saved money on, and others expenses that we didn't even dream we were gonna have, that we've had to do and come up with what looks like we might have a surplus at the end of the year. I think our staff, and on top of it all, I believe we're the only township in the whole United Counties that didn't declare that we were in an emergency state.
No, there was 5 of us.
Was there?
Yeah.
We worked through with staff. We had an office that has always been available by appointment. Yes, the doors were locked, but it's always been available to come in and talk to the staff, or a lot of them weren't. And I think they did I think we all owe them, all the ratepayers owe them a great vote of thanks, because they've been available to them in pretty trying times here, and they've come to the office every day. Lots of offices were closed, and everybody was making excuses that they couldn't come to work. These guys and gals come to work every day.
So I think that was congratulations to the staff, and I'll echo Councillor Hunter's sentiments.
Well done, guys.
And to Rebecca, thank you very much for this report, and I just want you to know that I'm gonna copy it copiously, but full acknowledgement. And now there is no recommendation to accept this report, but will this come on the council agenda as well?
Through the chair, if you wish for council to receive it, I can do that.
Yeah, I think put it on the council agenda to be received by council, if you would. And thank you very much, Councillor Hunter. Okay, and so now we're at item 8, or 7I, I think it is called, HI, Multi-Year Accessibility Plan. And again, I suspect that this was constructed by the clerk, because that's her name on the bottom of the recommendation with the CAO. And the recommendation is that the committee recommends that council receive the 21-26 multi-year accessibility plan. Now, are there any comments or questions with the plan itself before I call for a mover and seconder on the recommendation?
I have one, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I find it's very good. We have all of our customer service, information, communications, etc. Just wonder if we couldn't add or think about adding on this Accessible for Ontario Disability Act, affordable living, if that's possible.
No, it doesn't come under Disabilities Act.
Yes, it does, Mr. Mayor. Accessibility takes in more than just physical space.
Well, I'll let the clerk respond to that. I didn't. I don't know the act that well.
I feel it's important that we have that in there. In other words, something to do with affordable living. We have contractors coming in here, building 15, 20 houses maybe. We could ask them after the 18th, 19 and 20 could be for affordable housing.
Yeah, but this multi-year accessibility plan is a plan that we're required to construct under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act 2005. So the Act, the Ontarians with Disability Act of 2005 outlines what this accessibility plan would have to cover, would it not? Go ahead.
Through the chair, the AODA Act specifically gives us roadmap where the municipalities have to focus on 5 key areas, being customer service, information and communications, employment, transportation, and public space. That's what we have to focus on this report.
So what were those 5 again?
Customer service, information and communications, employment, transportation, and public spaces, so our municipal facilities.
Right. But we can add accessible living to it.
That's going above and beyond the act at this point, and my requirements as the accessibility coordinator for this township.
So we can't put accessible living in. You're saying we can go above and beyond.
That's putting the onus on the township as well as myself to try
Well,
and implement something like that.
I think the councillor has a different issue that he wants to deal with, which is affordable housing. I just don't know how we can.
Well, the affordable housing can come under this, that's all I'm saying, Mr. Mayor.
I know, but are you asking that we go back and rewrite this plan?
Well, No, I guess, I just like something in there, and I guess under our information, not the employment, but the general information says about moving forward. I don't know, can we
You
have
can
some?
deal with affordable housing in a different way, I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, we're not.
Well, there will be an opportunity, I can tell you.
Then I'll go along then. I mean, it's a good report, I read it very strongly, I strongly believe in it. I just think that we should, I thought we could maybe put the affordable living in it, but if you think it's above and beyond than what we have to do, then I'll accept this. And I'll bring up affordable living. Okay, so. And it's 9 o'clock.
And I need a mover and a second.
So moved.
Okay, I have Councillor Hunter moving and Councillor Cameron seconding. Is there any further discussion here? Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, now I have to get to website, what is it, 7J. And 7J is the website bylaw repository module. This is buying a module to our website, to our new website. And this module will be the repository of all of our bylaws. Is that the concept?
So through the chair, I cannot, I do not have the time to put every single bylaw that has ever been created by our township in it.
No.
That would take me years just to do that. I don't think you want me to dedicate that amount of time. So I'm planning to work with eSolutions if this module is accepted, to go back for the last couple of years, pick out the key bylaws that people have frequently asked for, and then on a move forward basis, all bylaws other than, you know, the confirmatory bylaw, because that's not a necessary bylaw to be put in every month at a time. Everything would be in the bylaw repository and be able to access by the public with easy, quick searches.
Okay, so I have a question about the module itself. So let's assume that we've put into the module bylaw number 56, 2019. And it's in the module. And something comes up in 2021 where we modify that bylaw, and the mechanism that we choose to modify that bylaw is to repeal the old one and put in a new one. Does somebody looking through the module, can they see that the old one's been repealed?
So that's the nice part about this new module. Anytime anything's amended, repealed, replaced, consolidated, I'm able to note that for the public.
Oh, you are?
They'll able to see and track them.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's a very simple to use module by the looks of it.
Okay,
And does it make the old one disappear?
No.
no, it just tells you that it's been repealed. Okay, so I have do I need a mover and a seconder?
I need just a question while we're discussing it. On page 99, under policy implications, council resolution, oh, I'm sorry, that's a resolution. It's okay, never mind. I just answered my own question.
Okay, so I need a mover and a seconder to purchase this module. Okay, I got Councillor Hunter moving and Mr. Bradley seconding. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
That's carried, and that's coming out of the modernization money. And then the content development for the website, which is the next item on the agenda, which is 7J. Staff, again, I think you all understood what the clerk just said. Preparing the content to go into this new website is a major task. And staff is asking for help to do that in the form of the recommendation that you have in front of you here. Recommending the council authorize staff to acquire content development and writing services from eSolutions Group with an upset limit of 20,000 using the modernization fund in order to expedite the implementation of the new accessible township website. And let me tell you folks that our staff just do not have this time. They are busy here. So further discussion, if any? Need a mover and a seconder to action this. I have Councillor Cameron moving. A seconder, please. Mr.
Robertson.
All I could think of was Bradley. Mr. Robertson, thank you very much. And those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion is carried. And I think now we're at the next one, which is the the Eastern Ontario Leadership Council. Computer Strategy Pilot Project. Now, and the staff is asking, do we want them to spend time exploring this? And I'm gonna ask the staff. Are you asking for us to allot this time?
Through the chair, we are asking if you want us to find the time to pursue this.
Who's the prime mover?
Beg your pardon?
Is there a prime mover?
The Eastern Ontario Leadership Council.
They're
It's-
already in existence?
Yeah, well, let me explain that. The Eastern Ontario Leadership Council is now a freestanding separate corporation sponsored by the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. And it's headed up by 2 CAOs, of which Andy Brown is one, and I can't remember the second one. And they've got this pilot project of a commuter service. And you see their brief that's in front of you here. You've had an opportunity. My worry is staff time. I don't mind saying that. But if the staff is prepared to find the time, puts us at the table with the other folks here. Do they give you any kind of an indication of what the time commitment would be?
I do not have that at this particular stage.
Okay, so, anybody want
I don't know, I think it's kind of a far shot. Commuter service, basically, they're talking about for work. They go from Cardinal, Prescott up through to Brockville. Basically, they take people to work. Like, I think the biggest
Transportation.
part of transportation there to get them to.
Could be more and more.
For us to work, well, how, to me, it seems like it's a long shot. They say it's gotta be, end up that it can finance itself. I don't know how it's gonna finance itself, because in our township particularly, how many people go to work in Brockville? Most of them are going to work in Kempville and Ottawa area, not going that way. There's more people from Brockville coming this way to work than there is to Brockville to work, so.
We got a lot of people from Ottawa coming out here though
That's
now.
right,
From Ottawa out.
yeah. Like the transportation back and forth,
Transportation.
north, south.
Well, the interesting thing is, a few years ago, Heather Lawless did a study, and she could show that on any given day, roughly the same number of people came into the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal to work as left from the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal to go to a dozen different places. I mean, I'll tell you, I ran a bus company for a whole number of years. And when my bus company first started back in the 40s, the mines contracted our company to take the miners to work. And every bus was full for every shift. When the mine manager finally called me into his office and said, "Pat, it's over," my buses were running 1 and 2 men per shift because everybody had 2 cars. And they didn't want to ride the bus to work. Some guys would leave for work 10 minutes early. They didn't want to wait 10 minutes for the bus. I don't know how this would ever work, but on the other hand, we're being asked to participate here. I've got a recommendation in front of me, I have to deal with it, I need a mover and a seconder.
What would, Mr. Mayor, what would staff have to drop? I mean, these people are pretty busy. What would they have to drop or set aside to work on this?
I have no idea, but I can tell you they are busy.
I think it's great to be involved with them, but I'm like you, Mr. Mayor, and we're short-staffed here. I feel right now that we're short-staffed in here, and ask them to do more when we've got our job site challenge and everything we're working on here that's taking so much extra time beyond.
Well, if we're short-staffed, we can do it in our 2021 budget, do we need more people?
I think we do.
I think we do.
We have nobody being trained.
What do you think, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I've mentioned it some number of times, but it's not my job to decide what the functionality of an additional person would be. And I can see that we need a number of, we need understudy for existing positions, and we need some range of functionality to fill that hole, if I can put it that way.
I wish we could find the time to participate, if staff could, because I think this is gonna be the future for us, I really do.
Put the motion on the floor.
Yeah, I'll put it first.
I'll second.
All right, moved by Councillor Dillabaugh, seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. Are you ready for the question? Calling the question. Those in favor? 1, 2. I got 2. Those opposed?
Can I request that that's recorded?
Yep. If I'm gonna record it, I'm gonna call the vote. Dillabaugh, Cameron, Sale, Deschamps, Hunter, Bradley, and Robertson. And I got another column here that is yay, and another column that is nay, and requested by by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. All right, Councillor Dillabaugh, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
Nay.
Councillor, or no, I'll say votes last. Deputy Mayor Deschamps, how do you vote?
Yay.
Votes yay. Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
I'll vote in favor of it, because it's gotta go back for council to pass the final two, and maybe by then staff could give us a recommendation how many hours they're gonna have to do on it.
Okay. Mr. Bradley, how do you vote?
Nay.
Nay?
Nay.
Mr. Robertson, how do you vote?
Nay.
Nay. Sale will go with the nays. So it's 3 to 4. 3 in favor, 4 against. So let's hear what staff's got to say. All right, and staff, only thing I can say to you is, if you feel that you can make the time to participate in this thing, give us a strong recommendation to that effect. And now I'm at the M, Somerset Insurance Consulting Services. Sent this one around, it looks like it's here someplace.
It's page,
Page 122.
Yes.
I think everybody knows what this is about. You had Mr. White in here to talk to him, and you know that your insurance is coming due on March the 1st. It's an elongated process. Discussion, if any? If not, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Not finding a mover?
oh,
Finding a mover. Councillor Cameron, does he have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Councillor Dillabaugh seconding. Okay, any further discussion on this? Anybody? Hearing none, I'm about to call the question here. Those in favor?
aye.
Motion is carried. And moving to number N, pole-mounted garbage receptacles in Cardinal. So that's just for information, I think.
It is.
Any idea when these are gonna be installed? The receptacles will be installed by facility staff when they are delivered in 5 to 7 weeks. Is that the story, Mr.? And by the way, does the briefing note say how many, 3 or 4?
Three,
Three.
I believe three.
Okay. All right, so that's a result of something that came before the committee a little bit earlier.
Just a question, Mr. Mayor, through you to, I get Mr. Spencer, I believe this is your doing. Is there a reason why it's gonna take 5 to 7 weeks?
Through the chair to Councillor Cameron, that's the outside, or the other day, the longer day, sorry, I should say. It could be within the next 2 or 3 weeks. They're in the queue right now, and it depends on how busy they are manufacturing other products. Sorry.
Okay, is the company a local company?
No, it's not.
Where, is it out of province or?
No, it's within the province of Ontario.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and so now I'm going on to 7O, which is parking in Cardinal. And we have a recommendation here, direct staff, council direct staff to prepare a bylaw amendment to incorporate the exemption to allow for overnight parking at the old Cardinal Arena municipal parking lot. They're gonna free up a little bit of space there. Looking for a mover and a seconder here.
So
Mr. Robertson and seconded by Councillor Cameron. Further discussion, if any?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, are they parking, where is it gonna be roughly? Where they're parking now?
Mr. CEO?
Through the chair, it would be in that vicinity.
Where they're parking right now?
Yeah, a little farther back.
Yeah, they won't be parking at the library though.
Oh, no.
They're not there now.
Yeah.
So now what happens when, a snowstorm comes and they let it sit there for 2 or 3 days and then it becomes weeks? And it says overnight parking. Does that mean, when it says overnight parking, does that mean the next day they're gonna move that vehicle? Or could it sit there for 2 or 3 weeks?
My impression is these guys work every day.
I don't care where they work, but I'm just saying, or if a cold snap comes and he goes and starts his car and it's, oh, I don't need it for 2 weeks. Or he forgets about it, it sits there and builds up snow.
I think they know that it has to be moved for snow removal
Okay.
purposes.
I just don't wanna see a whole bunch of cars over there, 2 or 3 cars that filled up in snow and those guys gotta fight around it.
I don't think you'll have that
We
problem.
won't be, so through the chair, we won't be fighting around it.
Okay. No, but you know what,
It just won't get loud.
well, that, yeah, well, I'm afraid that you'll hit them if you can't see it. Okay.
We'll be firing.
That's good. No, I can picture them, they'll be sitting on the side 2 or 3 times, and there'd be snow this high, I can picture this. I don't think it's a good idea, but,
My problem was same as yours, people that had the second vehicle that they didn't use much in the wintertime.
Oh, you don't care. They don't
Up
care.
there and park it.
yeah. And then they go up, turn it on, it's a dead battery, they'll wait for 2 or 3 till it gets nice weather in spring.
Councillor Cameron?
Yes, if I just, I'm glad this recommendation is coming forward. If I may just make a recommendation myself here, that when we allow people to park in this area that you're going to set aside, is there going to be any control at all? Would it be just as simple as, if you're gonna park there, you have to supply us with your license plate number? So at least we have, well, what I'm trying to get away from is just anybody showing up there.
Well, I can, if first come, first served. I can go there.
Well, yes, but go to your question. I'd hate to see, and we've mentioned the property on William Street many times. Is a van gonna end up there? That's what bothers me. So, to be able to park in this designated place, why can't they give us their license plate number, so at least our bylaw officer knows who's supposed to be there? And that's the only control you need.
But it's first come, first served, it says.
Yeah, so when the 10 sites are filled up and we have all their
Okay,
license
gentlemen,
number,
let's
we
get
know who.
all the discussion through the chair, please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, through the chair.
So through the chair, it's a quick, simple alternative that is not going to add any kind of additional monitoring and work its staff. We're going to start with license plates and checks and everything else. That was not the intent of this. It was a simple, there's the area, first come, first serve. It may get plowed, it may not.
Okay, and if we run into problems with it, it ends.
Can we do that?
Certainly, we don't,
No liability, like slip and fall?
No, we have no,
Well, I have, like, we have a company that does our parking lot at our work, and they have a logbook for every single time that they enter the premise, and every time they put anything on it and chemicals, just for insurance purposes, for slip and fall.
we're plowing our own. Do we plow it ourselves, or do we have a contractor plow it?
We would be plowing it ourselves.
We plow it ourselves, it's our own property.
So we're gonna maintain it like we would a sidewalk.
We are going to,
Well, that's my concern. I'm not gonna, I don't,
We're liable for slip and falls.
yeah.
so we would be liable for slip and falls if it wasn't,
Oh, yeah, no,
11 PM to
but
7
I'm just
AM.
saying that you'll have more traffic there, more pedestrian traffic, so,
Well, potentially.
yeah. Do we have a problem with parking in?
Oh, but this all came because we have a very unique situation, and we're trying to solve it for three characters that don't have a place to park cars. Because the lady is renting rooms in her rooming house, and these three guys have cars, and they can't park them on the street, and there's no room in her yard. They were parking across the street in the library parking lot, obviously they can't park there. And they got warnings to move. So where do they park?
So,
They're gainfully employed to go to work every day, they need their cars to go to work.
yeah. So why doesn't the lady arrange to have parking?
Because she's tried 15 different places and can't find anything.
Well, we can find, we can rent her some of the space or allocate. I mean, she's gonna have to rent something to get space for these guys to park their cars, and they're gonna walk 2 miles from the car to back to the house. I mean, it's like a non-problem almost. We don't want them on the street, but
Mr. Robertson, you wanted in.
I thought it was just to have a sign, we're talking about looking at license plates and what have you. Just put up a sign, you're parking at your own risk.
That's what the recommendation is.
Yeah.
And a small area.
Yeah,
There's setting aside a small area in a big area and putting the sign that says first come, first serve at your own risk.
yeah. It's not gonna look like a parking ride at the airport. I can't imagine there'd be that many cars in there.
oh, I bet you it will be.
Through the chair, I have a hard time agreeing to provide a parking area that we're not going to maintain the same way that we're going to maintain the Ingredient Center, the library, or any other space that we have for parking.
Okay, so I got a wide divergence of opinion. I've got a recommendation in front of me with a mover and a seconder. If there's no further question, I'm gonna have to call the question and see what happens. Further discussion, if any. Okay, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
1, 2, I'm in favor, that's 2. Those opposed?
I'm in favor.
Oh, you're in favor, that's 3 in favor. Opposed, okay, who's got the opposed? And 3 opposed. Ah, 2 opposed. Okay,
He's in
Or
favor.
both.
well, who are the 4 opposed?
You're
1,
opposed?
2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 4 opposed. And there's 3 in favor. It fails. That's the way it works.
Mr. Mayor,
It's defeated.
may I just say something in, there's areas in Cardinal that people do not have places to park in the wintertime. There's a house on Victoria Street that has no place to park. We have a unit right at the corner of Dundas and Bridge where there's no place to park for, even actually for a business right next door, 2 places right there, no place to park unless they park on the street. And that's only a smattering. There's many, many older places in the village of Cardinal that do not have driveways. So therefore, people do not have places to park. I'd rather see them park what we're proposing here than on their lawn, which is, makes the village look not all that good.
Have you ever driven to Cabbage Town in
Yeah.
Toronto?
Yeah, I sure
Yeah, there's
have.
lots of places
I
with
grew
no
up in
driveway
Cabbage,
there
yeah.
either.
Okay, so gentlemen,
And the cars are parked there,
Yeah.
one on the other, you can't get a
Yep,
space.
you're absolutely right.
here's the story, gentlemen.
And they alternate, sorry, Mr. Mayor, but they alternate sides of the road on even days, odd days, so that they can plow areas.
I understand.
So the problem is not a problem in my view,
Well,
non-problem.
I think it is.
Well, the point is, you know, I mean, we did the best we could for these folks, and the vote is
Well,
3-4.
Yeah.
Three in favor, 4 against, that's too
And,
bad.
and all that being said, I will also say this too, that if Mr. Contractor comes to us and wants to build a 4-plex or 2-plex or a 3-plex or whatever, the first thing we say, you better have enough parking.
Well, that's the way it is.
And that's the way it is, but
We should.
this is a unique situation, and I'm
What
very.
about the Boylston Nest? Why can't you park there?
No, okay, we're not going into this, we're finished here. We're over, it's done. For now. Number 8, council inquiries, notices of motions.
Oh, I do. Did we get some signs up in Brownsville?
Brownsville,
Brownsville Road speed signs and then on 44.
don't talk to
Mister-
me about speed signs,
Okay.
please.
I'm not talking to you, I'm just bringing it up to the CEO, please.
Talk to him.
It is noted, Mr. Chair.
Pardon me?
It's noted. They are not up yet.
Okay, thank you. And they will be?
That is the plan.
Thank you. That's
Okay.
all for me.
I'm going to the mayor's report, which is gonna be brief. First of all, I don't know whether you've noticed it or not, but on the west side of Johnstown, just west of Commerce Drive, on the south side of the road, you'll notice that there's a new sign called Terrapin Farms. And I hope you'll also notice that in our one of our correspondence packages, we had a letter from the person in charge of Terrapin Farms indicating that they will apply on July the 1st, 2021, for a license to grow cannabis, produce it, and process it at that location, 3209 County Road 2, south side of County Road 2. So another company that will be getting into that business in the township. And the requirement is that they notify us at least 6 months prior to their application. Then they notify us when they apply, and they're also obligated to let us know the result of their application, I think if they receive their license. Now, you also know that we did a visit at the cannabis production facility that is the site of the old bingo hall. And when we did that tour, because we're very interested, those folks have bought 2 acres in the industrial park that they haven't yet developed. Now, they indicated to us on the day that we did the tour that they were about to get their license to start production. And do you know, Mr. CAO, if they indicated to you whether or not that's happened yet or not?
I have not had any update yet, but I'll follow up.
Well, it's interesting to see because I thought we would see some action there. On the October 9th correspondence package, over a letter dated October the 1st, 2020, there was a complete outline of current developments with regard to the ongoing treaty negotiations between Canada and Ontario and the Algonquins of Ontario. And they did indicate that negotiations are in a different phase right now, and the government has kind of put on the table the amount of land that they're prepared to transfer and the amount of dollars they're prepared to transfer on a nation-to-nation basis. And I am going to be seeing if I can get somebody to come and make a presentation to just kind of bring us up to date where that process is. Next item, I want you to know that the CAO and I met with the Prisbian plant general manager a couple of Tuesdays ago, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, to present to him an offer to purchase some land. And he indicated to us that he would get back to us within the next week or so, but that meeting has taken place. Item number 5, Robinson Consulting concerning the County Road 2 drain petition. Do we have any response on that yet at all, Mr. CAO? No, we talked about October, we're in December.
We are, and it probably looks like it will be January before I'll have something back. Just working with Robinson Consultants and the county.
Yeah, now the county is waiting for that report as well because it did delay the work that they're supposed to do under the rail bridge. The work, the county is intending to redo that entire section under the rail bridge, including the 2 or 3 outlets to the river, and they're just waiting for this consultant's report to determine the size. So just mention that. Now, going back to Councillor Hunter, or excuse me, Councillor Dillabaugh, affordable housing. I just want you to know that there has been new interest in the Charlevoix subdivision on the west side of County Road 22, north of the railroad track. Now that's a 94 lot subdivision. We have a draft plan of subdivision in place and a draft subdivision agreement. Now, I'm anticipating that sometime within the next 3 to 4 months, we will be asked to bring that draft plan of agreement to final stage. And that's the point at which we can ask that developer to include in his plans so many units at affordable housing rates. And it's every bit our right to ask to have those affordable units into that plan. So just want you to know, I think that that opportunity will occur sometime before March. And other than that, there have been at least 2 sales, and no, it's 1 sale, 1 lease of property in the Johnstown area for business interests that will be relocating to this area west of Johnstown sometime, I think, within the next 6 months. It's not my position to say who they are, it's their announcement, but just to let council know that there's tremendous interest in our area right now. A lot of discussions taking place, and these are only 2 of the deals that I know of, but I've been asked not to say anything about at this point. And the last part of it is that, speaking with Mr. Jones, Cruise Rail is on another expansion endeavor. They want to finish the development of their 100 acres that they've already developed north of County Road 2. There's about 20 to 30 acres on the west side of their existing land, which they will develop as phase 2. And I have asked Mr. Jones, please, 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 get your application in for a site plan agreement amendment early, because we cannot deal with it with you going ahead without it. So I've made that very clear to Mr. Jones. He understands. He has a new consulting firm. I think we'll see his application for phase 4 sometime within the next 3 months. So that's it. That's the mayor's report. And other than that, this is the question period. Okay, so generally, we let the press go first, so I'll give the press the first opportunity for a question, and then I'll come to this gentleman.
Okay. Very quickly, on page 89, you mentioned recognitions, and you're saying that the 2020 Citizen of the Year Award will be announced on December 14th?
Yes, just
Before
prior,
the council meeting?
yeah, just before the council
Just
meeting.
before council meeting. Will that individual be present?
Well, we tried to use subterfuge to get that person here without them knowing why they're here,
Okay.
and then make the announcement when they're here.
And how is that award decided? What committee decides that?
Oh, it's a top secret.
The top
Actually, it's
committee?
decided by this committee meeting in camera.
Okay.
And we receive applications and nominations from throughout the township, and we review the applications that we've received.
Okay.
All of the nominations come from folks within the township.
And just quickly, I was curious when you were talking about the water on page 77, the acronym SCADA, S-C-A-D-A.
Yes?
What is that, what's that acronym stand for?
Mr. Shaw, could you tell this lady?
I'm just curious.
Supervisory control and data acquisition.
Okay, thank you.
And is that the extent of the questions?
That's it for me.
So the gentleman?
Yes, my name's John Landerville. I'm a resident of Totem Ranch Road East, and I'm just here to, I'm glad that we were able to get the consideration for a possibility of 2021 budget. I have spoken to people at North Grenville, and Karen Dunlop, who's in the engineering person there, said I guess one of the first steps is to do a traffic count. So they were going to try and get that in progress. So we have their ear as well, so appreciate council's participation in the process, and hopefully we can get something done.
It's a pleasure to meet you. I've seen you on text and email, and pleasure to meet you here tonight. And the reason that that I kind of suggested at the table that we referred to them to see if they would take lead on it is because they have a much more robust department than we do, and we just finished Latimer Road where they were lead.
Right.
It's a boundary. They were lead. They executed the program, and we just write the check for 50%. So, and I know Karen is a pretty aggressive public works superintendent, so if you've got her ear, and Mr. Grant, our CAO, will be talking to her, so I think no guarantees, you know that.
For sure, I know that, yeah. I was pleased to get it at least considered for the 2021 budget, so that's good. Thanks very much.
Mr. CAO?
If I may, just wanted to, I know this isn't council, but it's a committee, and I just wanted to see if there was any concern with council with having the office closed on the 29th, 30th, and half day on the 31st.
Oh, right, you sent us an email about that.
Yes, you did.
Okay, everybody, time to express your druthers.
Well, I think I brought that same recommendation up to 5 years ago when I was on council here, that it should be closed because we're only open for a day or a day and a half every time, so.
I always like the phone.
Deputy Mayor?
I think especially in this year, it's been a ridiculous year. Staff's overdone themselves for, well, let's say the entire year, absolutely for a couple of days, 100%.
Well, they take holidays, do they not? Yeah, it's holiday time.
Yeah, still.
Other brothers?
Off the week?
3 of us are already off.
Other brothers?
It's gonna be
Other
3 of us in
brothers?
the
Anybody?
school. It's gonna be 3 of us in the office.
Yep.
Oh, everybody shuts down between Christmas and New Year's anyway, so for all the calls we have here.
Okay, so it sounds like there are no reservations. I haven't heard any.
So we'll get that posted, so give everybody as much notice as possible.
And there's one other thing I forgot to mention in my mayor's report, and you know, this is like watching paint dry, but as you know, the CAO and I are meeting every second Monday with telephone meeting with Infrastructure Ontario. And there are two items of discussion. One is the job site challenge, and what do they know that we don't know, and they do know sometimes things that we don't know. And of course, the other thing is the divestiture of that 10,000 acres. And I think I've reported to council that we've now got South Nation Conservation as a signature on our confidentiality agreement so that they can be at the table for those meetings, because they're interested in acquiring the provincially significant wetlands. So, the focus of the meetings with Infrastructure Ontario has now changed to how do they divest that 10,000 acres to the township? What mechanism would we use? How would they do it? We've told them that their standard mechanism for disposing of land won't work for us, that there has to be some other method of doing it. They seem to be prepared to listen. They've asked, one of the things that I suggested to them, and we've made it very clear right from the beginning, that our whole interest, if we acquire that land, is to sell that land off to farmers and get it back into production. And they want to know how we would go about doing that. My original suggestion to them was that we would hold a series of small auctions, maybe 500 to 600 acres at a time, and we would try to divest it 500 to 600 acres at a time by means of a live auction. They want us to put that in writing. They've asked Mr. Grant to have me put it in writing. I'm not prepared to do that yet, but what I have started doing, I've now talked to most of our major farmers, not all of them, asking for their advice as to how best to put that hands back into the hands of farmers. Would an auction be best? Should we be engaging a realtor? How should we do it? I'm getting lots of advice from a lot of different sources, and sometime within the next week or so, and we meet with them again, when is it, on this, a week from today, the 14th, right? 14th. We meet with them again on the 14th, so.
What's the feedback, Mr. Mayor?
From the farmers?
Yeah. Live auction or real?
They're basically suggesting to me that I should be getting a realtor involved. That's what they're saying. They're saying an auction might work, but now there's another system that they've mentioned to me that seems to have worked with a couple of divestitures, and that is that there is a realtor who conducts a silent auction. And basically what he does, he indicates to the marketplace that he has so many acres of Class 1 land located in such and such a place, and he's accepting bids. You bid to him silently, and then he conducts a negotiation to get the highest price for the seller. So that's another possibility. And I've been given a name of a person to talk to, haven't talked to that person yet, but I'm just sort of letting you know that I have the opinion that, and Infrastructure Ontario on the telephone calls have told us that they have been instructed to divest this 10,000 acres.
Now, with the money we get,
Goes back to them.
it goes back to,
Yeah. Unless we're prepared, unless I can make a deal where we cut a straight deal with them and pay them X numbers of dollars, no hands tied. That's what we're trying to do, but I don't think they'll accept it. I know of a situation, it's amazing. I maybe shouldn't be talking in front of the press this way, but I'm going to because it all erupted in public anyway, and I don't know a lot of the detail. But you know, they tell us, this is the way we always divest property. We have to work from our appraisals. We always get an appraisal. We never sell for less than the appraisal. Recently, they divested a piece of property for $40,000 that was resold for $2 million.
the provincial government?
Well, things happen, and you know, what am I to say? They don't want to get caught, and we have to be, as a public entity, we have to be super transparent about what we're doing. There's no question about it. I've indicated to them that we don't intend to make margin clear margin on anything that we get from them. If we buy it from them for 100,000 and spend 20,000 divesting it, that's 120 for us. But if we get 200, well, you know, how are we gonna handle it? I don't even wanna get into all of that, but somehow or another, we're gonna have to come to a meeting of the minds as to how we get that 10,000 acres. I think that's enough said on this for now, and, just to let you know that it's starting to happen. Okay, and I think the next thing is a closed session. And then we don't have a closed session, adjournment. Looking for the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councillor Cameron, does he have a seconder?
Sure.
Those in favor?
Everybody wants to stay here.
Okay, motion is, those in favor, the motion is carried.
Yeah, you're getting up.